Hello and welcome to Six Pack. Today I'm going to continue the series What If Deku Had the Mecha Quirk Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
At the end of a rope, a piano tipped precariously over the UA entrance. Katsuki held the other end of the rope while sitting on the rooftop with a view of the death trap. The other pupils all swerved around the piano when they noticed its shadow on the sidewalk. "What are you doing? Today's the day I free the human race from its imminent destruction." "Fantastic. How are you going to accomplish that?" "I've realized the problem with all my plans to annihilate the machines. I've relied too much on what everyone thinks works on robots, be it magnets, water, acid, paradoxes, or irrational numbers. Well, no more. This time, I went with the stupidest plan possible, by having Kirishima tell me what to do." "So, you strung up a piano over the school entrance." "Exactly. That way, when Deku walks under it, the piano will fall and crush him in so many pieces that even Anti-Inko couldn't put it back together again. Without their infiltration unit, the computers will have to devise a new plan to take over the world, which will buy enough time for me to become the #1 hero, declare all machines as villains, and save human civilization from their impending doom." "I see, but then, what would happen if I did not take the main entrance and instead, leapt up the side of the building to see what you were doing on the roof?" Katsuki turned and smiled icily at Deku. "That's the best part. I knew you would have anticipated Kirishima's plan, so I made a minor edit." Katsuki released the cord. Anvil smashed through the roof, crashed through Cementos's desk, tore a hole in Aizawa's sleeping bag, crashed into Deku, and then fell into Nezu's tea stash in the basement after falling out of the sky. As Katsuki leaned over the edge to celebrate his victory, a billowing cloud of tea-scented dust blew from the gaping hole. At last, the robot menace has been thwarted. From behind Katsuki came a bone-rattling, wince-inducing scrape of metal on metal. Izuku bit into Katsuki's anvil while clad in goose down, loose-leaf tea, and pages from Cementos's book. "Thank you for the present. The anvil was most delicious." With a fist shake, Katsuki yelled, "This isn't over, I'll be back, with another." Ahem. Cementos, Aizawa, and Nezu stood with their arms folded behind Katsuki. "Logically speaking," Aizawa said, holding up his dismembered sleeping bag, "you have a lot of detention to serve." Mineta, meanwhile, was unable to notice the approaching shadow because he was too busy staring at the girls in front of him. The piano fell on him with a loud crash of keys as the rope broke as he stepped beneath it. The lid opened a moment later. Mineta patted the spheres on his head and exclaimed, "Ha! My huge, bouncy balls kept me safe." An anvil fell on Mineta as another rope broke. With a trembling arm, Mineta lifted it from beneath the debris of the piano and said, "A little help please." Kirishima said, "Hey, you in there bro? Your mom said I could come right in, but it's not manly to intrude on someone's privacy." Kirishima opened the door after Mitsuki nudged her again and there was no response. His face was blasted by an explosion. After the point-blank explosion, Kirishima appeared to be in good condition despite being as hard as rock and having an entire can of hairspray poured into his scalp. "Thought so, you're of them, aren't you? Come to silence me? Well, it's too late. I've already made everyone else aware of the truth. Even if I fall, others shall carry on the fight in my name." Katsuki, who had greasy hair and bloodshot eyes, pulled Kirishima forward by the collar. Kirishima raised his cell phone. "You said that you wanted to hang out, right? Go out into sunlight, touch some grass, interact with a person. This seems oddly specific now that I think about it. Why did your mom have your phone anyways?" The phone was crushed in Bakugo's hands. Bakugo pushed a cup at Kirishima and said, "Can't trust them. They're too smart. Even flip phones will get ya. Old cup and strings where it's at, can't get wiretapped either." Abruptly, the FBI agent who was tying another string between the two cups raised his head. "Wait, this isn't the States, my bad." The room was cluttered with a whiteboard filled with obscure symbols and meaningless scrawls. Kirishima inquired, "So, you're getting into art? You know what year it is now? 2222? "Exactly. Computers can only understand zeros and ones. This is the first year in human history without those numbers." "Really? Cool. We're fine for now, since January's got the 1 in it, but mark my words, the computers will revolt on February 22nd, at 2222. That's when they'll take over the world." "Wow, is that really all twos? That's sick. We should have a party." Bakugo pointed to an unreadable whiteboard, no longer acknowledging Kirishima's presence. "They've already begun the preparations. These NFTs. It's brilliant. Not only are they encouraging the witless masses into setting up more processors for the robotic hive mind under the guise of blockchain, they're also sucking up the world's resources. Already almost 1% of the world's energy usage goes strictly to the hive mind's computation network. They're feeding the robots all the data they need to calculate the most efficient way to exterminate us off the face of this map. And furthermore, the additional fuel consumption's worsening the atmosphere. Robots don't need to breathe. They don't need sunlight. They'll trick the gullible masses into mining away for their precious coin to buy these NFTs until the atmosphere's choked with coal smoke. Really? Then what happens? Without sunlight, all the fossil fuels used up, and the only viable location for geothermal power being underwater due to flooding, they'll use the humans as batteries and lock us all in a simulation to keep us compliant. Like the Matrix? Bakugo struck a whiteboard with a punch. They warned us centuries ago. Why didn't anyone listen? Nezu enjoyed wearing his bathrobe. It swept the moisture from his wet fur without curling or fraying it, and it had a downy, soft texture that even Aizawa's scarf couldn't match. Lounging in his office in the bathrobe was all the more alluring because it was completely black, cast shadows over his face, and exuded a Sith Lord vibe. Nezu inquired, "How goes the preparations?" With a salute and a smartly dressed gray Imperial officer's suit, Powerloader declared, "The final assembly of the station is complete, and your shuttle awaits immediate departure." Excellent. It occurs to me that I plan to spend the rest of my life on board that station, and I have no idea if it's up to the job. We should stress test the station. Do you have something in mind? I was planning on having the students fight the teachers for the final exam, but that sounds so pedestrian. Let's bring them on board the station and see what happens instead. That Powerloader smiled. I had Hatsume inventing on board. It'll hold. The pupils of 1A anxiously anticipated their final exam the following day. With his scarf over his mouth, Aizawa walked in. No doubt you've all heard that the final exam is normally another robot fight. In light of the increased villain activity, the HPSC has pushed for a more hands-on approach to ensure you're ready for the real world. So, today, you'll be facing against the faculty in assigned pairs. First up, we have. The voice of Aizawa trailed off. Koda and Kaminari sagged in the front row. Seeing the gas, Yaoyorozu attempted to make masks, but she dozed off with half of a mask sticking out of her chest. The rest of the class sagged over their desks, one by one. Is it currently nap time? I was not aware that nap time was a part of the high school curriculum, Izuku said, still sitting upright and taking in his unconscious classmates. Nezu, still wearing his black bathrobe, emerged on a projector screen and said, "Ah, you're still awake. I thought you might be immune to Midnight's quirk." "Oh, is this part of the exam?" "As a matter of fact, it is, and it so happens that I have a very special role for you to play." Yaoyorozu discovered her wrists shackled to a chilly metal wall when she eventually awoke. Bakugo said, "Hey you're awake at last. What happened? Where are we?" "The machines got us. Hurry up and make a lockpick so I can bust us out of here." When Yaoyorozu made a lockpick, it fell to the ground with a clatter. Yaoyorozu questioned, "Do these cuffs even have a keyhole?" "Then make a keyhole. Geez, you're supposed to be the smart one." "My quirk doesn't work like that. I burn fat too. I have an idea." Shrunken to skin and bones, Yaoyorozu slipped out of her restraints after 500 Matryoshka dolls. She pried open Katsuki's handcuffs with her lockpick. Turns out they have keyholes after all. When Mineta woke up, his ankles were shackled to a chilly metal floor. "Please let me be in some sexy dominatrix dungeon." "I did not just hear you say that." Juru, who was attached to the opposite wall, glared at him. Gulping, Mineta exclaimed, "A bisexual sexy dominatrix? Are you going to get us out of here or not? What can I do?" "Use your hands, maybe." "How? They're bolted to the," Mineta said, laughing, holding his hands in front of his face. "Wait, what?" "Look up." Mineta raised her head. He could not even reach his fingertips to touch the two clamps for arms that loomed over his head. "You cannot be serious. Hey, be grateful the guards didn't bother to handcuff you. Now get us out of here." "Nope. I refuse to make it out of here because I'm too short for the big boy restraints. Hey sexy dominatrix ladies. My hands are free and they're planning all sorts of naughty things. Aren't you going to tie me up and teach me a lesson?" Mineta felt one of Jiru's earlobes slide free and press against her throat. "Get us out of here or I will castrate you." Squeezing out a meep, Mineta, white with fear, released his restraints. Jiru and Mineta discovered two white armored guards standing at the end of the hallway. The first one said, "Do you wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? I mean, are we the product of some cosmic coincidence? Or is there really a God watching everything? You know, with a plan for us and stuff. I don't know, man, but it keeps me up at night." What? I mean, why are we on this space station? Jiru's earlobes found their jugulars after wriggling beneath their armor. Great question. Why are you guys here? Slowly, the two guards turned around. Come on, did you have to interrupt the RVB bit? Jiru reached inside the jack. Did I stutter? We're under strict orders not to. Jiru lowered his earlobe. The guard became motionless. We're here on orders from the Emperor to find the rebel base we believe to be hidden in this sector. Jiru had both of the guards remove their armor and locked them inside the empty cell after they had spilled everything. One of the guards said, "Can I at least go to the bathroom first? I need to pee." Hold it. As Mineta fumbled with the pants, Jiru secured her armor. Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? Mineta clamped the chest piece over himself, stood on top, and pushed his sticky spheres into the legs. Nah, it's fine, I have a great idea, he said. His hair was in the way of the helmet. See? I'm over here, Mineta. Mineta pivoted. Wait, don't leave me behind, I'm coming. But Jiru said as he ran into a wall and vanished around a corner. I'm sure he'll be fine. Pull my elbow. A withering glare was directed at his cellmate by Ojiro. This better not be some kind of prank. Zero affirmed, it's not, I swear, I have a plan to get us out. Ojiro caught the corner of Zero's tape with a quick flip of his tail. It sounded suspiciously like a fart as he pulled. Dude, really? Inquired Ojiro. Do you want to get out of this cell or not? Fine, fine. Now what? Stick the tape over my restraints. Ojiro stared at him in amazement. Are you trying to get even more stuck? Just hurry up and do it. I think I hear footsteps coming. Ojiro placed the piece of tape over Zero's arm's metal cuff. Okay, now what? Now peel it off. Ojiro yanked, like that's going to do anything. Where the tape had touched the metal, it squealed and tore. With a puzzled look, Ojiro held up the piece of sheet metal coated tape. How? What do you mean how? It's tape. You know what, never mind. Give me more of that. Ojiro rolled out a massive strip of tape, and an even louder flatulent sound was released. Did you actually fart? Asked Ojiro after taking a whiff. I had a bean burrito. Okay. Did you just hear someone rip the biggest fart ever? A guard asked down the hall. The poor guy probably needs a change of pants, his partner remarked. Metal's tortured scream echoed down the corridor. Did you just hear someone break out of their cell? The guard inquired. They're probably looking for some new pants. Ojiro lunged at the guards with a strip of tape as they raised their guns. Both guards were quickly taped together after having their armor removed. See, told you they were looking for new pants. Shut up, Greg. Zero said, whoops, and proceeded to unfold additional tape. Knew we were forgetting something. What are you? MMRPH. There, exclaimed Zero, covering the other guard's mouth with tape. Now they can't call for help. Ojiro questioned, shouldn't we question them first? We don't even know where everyone else is. Huh. Good point. Zero tore the tape off. It came off the guard's lips. The lips that were adhered to the tape moved with the guard's mouth as he screamed. Quit being a baby, I'll tape it back on when we're done. So, where is everyone else? Zero slapped the tape back in place after the guard gave them detailed instructions on how to get to the remaining cell blocks. The mouth was twisted to one side. How are they ever going to get out of your tape? Asked Ojiro. I think it would kill them to peel it off. They'll be fine. It wears off after a few hours. Zero stumbled forward bow-legged as his stomach rumbled noisily. Hold on, I need to ask them where the bathroom is. Zero stumbled back toward the guards, whose eyes widened in terror. Kirishima put his shackles to the test. Dude, this gives me so many ideas for working my core. Really? Inquired Sato. We're trapped in here and you're thinking about your workout routine? Of course. I gotta keep these mad gains somehow. Sato murmured, I think they left my emergency snack cakes in my pocket. I can get us out of here with a sugar rush. What do you need sugar for? Protein's where it's at. I'm losing brain cells listening to you and I haven't even eaten any sugar yet. As far as his restraints would permit, Sato leaned forward, but he was unable to reach his pants pocket. Sato exclaimed, panting from the exertion, it's no good. I can't reach that far. Shouldn't have skipped leg day, bro. Oh come on, it's not like you have any ideas. Sure I do. Just watch me. As Kirishima used his quirk, his muscles grew larger. The screws that held the shackles in place protruded from the wall like corks of champagne as they moaned. Kirishima got up and gave his biceps a flex. Sun's out, guns out, now that's what I'm talking about. Sato blinked. You know what? I respect that. Now, could you get those cakes out of my pocket? Kirishima tightened his abs and flexed his arms in a stereotypical strongman pose, saying, No worries, bro, I got you. Kirishima had such a manly aura that Sato's restraints broke in two. I'm not even going to ask how that works. People respect the mad gains, bro. Sato reiterated, I'm not even going to ask, with greater vigor. Is that going to work on the door? In front of the door, Kirishima displayed his toned body and said, Only one way to find out. Although it faltered, the ray shielding remained in place. No good. That door's got some serious muscle on it. Sato pulled the plastic package out of his pocket and stared at the label, saying, Well, good thing I have even bigger muscles. Let me just eat real quick, and... Protein bar. How did this get in here? Dude, those bars have, like, all the protein. They're amazing muscle fodder. Give 'em a try, bro. Sato looked at the label. He swallowed the protein bar, and his muscles flexed. 2 grams of sugar. Guess it's better than nothing. Oh yeah, it's muscle time, baby. It disappeared with a pop as Sato flexed in front of the door. Did you just open their cell? One guard asked another at a nearby guard station. The guard pointed to the camera screens where Kirishima and Sato were flexing in front of a patrol group and said, Well, yeah. Did you see those muscles? Mad respect, bro. After taking off their armor, the 2 guards gave the students their house keys. You know what? I'm not paid enough to care. How about we get some coffee? Do you think they could put some protein powder in? Daddy's gotta get some muscles like those. Please don't call yourself daddy ever again, Mike. All of 1A, with the exception of Izuku, reunited at a facility intersection. Zero exclaimed, Sweet, we're all here. How'd you all bust out? Shoji waved his extra arms, saying, I made more arms. No prison can hold darkness, spoke Tokiyami menacingly. I helped, said Dark Shadow as he protruded. Hagakure stomped her feet invisibly, saying, The jerks never even realized I was there. I thoofed my tongue, Suyu remarked while covering her tongue with a bandage. Got a pather thud while pithing the loath. I made ice, said Todoroki, and I made acid. Adding glittering sparkles to his hair, Aoyama exclaimed, and I, like a beautiful dame, got rescued by a valiant knight. Bakugo bluntly remarked, You were too useless to escape. Ochako gave him a sigh. You didn't have to be so mean. Right, Iida said, taking a step forward. Anyone know how to escape this maze? I've been running for miles, but I always loop back to the same spot. Maybe we could try the viewing deck, with cushioned seats, cup holders, a large glass screen, and a sign that read, For optimal viewing of planetary destruction. The students entered a room that resembled a giant theater. Dude, said Kirishima, Earth appears so small. Would it be possible for me to use it as an exercise ball? Isn't that just a screen? Jiru inquired. Yes. This is how we would be floating. Ochako slapped herself, turning a bright green in a matter of seconds. URRP, need, trash can. Kaminari remarked, This must be a joke, as Ochako painted a new pride flag on the nearby trash can. This glass might be hiding something. I understand. With that, Mina threw a glob of acid at the glass. Wait, acid doesn't melt. The acid ate through the glass, causing it to bubble. Yaoyorozu gazed at the chemical anomaly and remarked, I stand corrected. Students clung frantically to chairs as the vacuum of space tried to suck them in, and before anyone could react, more glass flew outward. The hole created by the acid made a soft hissing sound. Clog the hole. Act quickly. A collective sigh of relief went through the class as Todoroki threw ice over the broken window. All right, new regulation. No more making holes in things, Zero yelled. You understand? The ice hissed and Mineta went pale and said, guys. The ice is boiling, I believe. Actually, it's sublimating, Iida said, since it's transitioning directly from solid to gas phase due to the lower pressure outside. The ice began to shrink, and Zero ran forward, slapping tape all over it as the hissing got louder. There, that should hold, Zero said, wiping perspiration from his brow. Hissing came from everywhere at once, cracks spread outward, and crystalline pops rumbled across the glass. Go. After a moment of panting and exchanging grins over their narrow escape, 1A hardly slammed the door behind them before a loud boom signaled the destruction of the window, and then Ochako stopped grinning. Guys, I think we're in space. Kurr, coo. Kurr, coo. The eerie sound of mechanical breathing filled the hallway, and the 1A students froze. Kaminari swallowed and said, "That isn't just me, right?" "I don't know where it's coming from," Jiro said, shivering. "This ship makes too much noise." They turned the corner and saw Darth Vader facing down a cloaked figure with his lightsaber drawn, their lightsabers sizzling with every tap as the two enemies circled one another. Darth Vader remarked, "Your powers are weak, tin can." The figure's face was illuminated by the light, and the class became calm when they saw the bright green eyes peeking out from beneath the cloak. "Hooray! It's Midoriya, the toast of Darth Vader. Izuku, get him." "You can't win, Darth," Izuku replied. "If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine." Izuku's body collapsed to the ground as Darth Vader's lightsaber sliced down, slicing his chest in half before Dark Shadow grabbed it as it rolled across the floor. He had his head chopped off, but he still beat that Nomu, remember? "He's fine," Zero said. Izuku was flattened into sheet metal by a massive hydraulic press that slammed down on him as Darth Vader snapped his fingers. His quirk could still. Slag was formed into a coffee mug, cooled, and filled with steaming hot coffee after flamethrowers that protruded from the wall melted Izuku's remains into slag. I thoroughly enjoy a coffee break before I hunt down escaped prisoners." Darth Vader sipped through his mask and turned to face the stunned students. "There they are. My coffee break is probably over." Blast shield doors slammed down in Darth Vader's path as he strode toward them, a lightsaber forcing its way through the reinforced metal and causing the door to glow brightly. Izuku was just eliminated by him, Mineta sobbed, "We're destined to fail." Izuku appeared in front of everyone and said, "Hello there. Izuku. You're still here. I am a force ghost now." "Bullshit," Katsuki said, cracking his palms. "How is this all taking place?" "That's my quirk. My body was destroyed by Darth Vader, and I transferred my consciousness into the ship. Now I am the Death Star, too." Katsuki gazed at the metal walls surrounding him as if they would crush him at any second, while the other students oohed and nodded in comprehension. Izuku announced, "The security station is in Section G there. You can override the controls for the tracking beam, take a transport, and fly back to Earth." He displayed a hologram of the Death Star. "How about you?" Yaoyorozu inquired, "Won't you be confined here?" "I'm going to upload to the ship. Follow me now, and I'll show you the best way to avoid stormtrooper patrols." Katsuki took his own detour in the direction of the reactor room at the center of the ship, while the rest of the class followed the hologram. A cloaked figure, meanwhile, watched the students running together and laughing from the bridge. "Let's see how you handle my assassin droids." Izuku inquired, "Is everyone accounted for?" Kachan wandered off earlier. "No, I'm right here." Bakugo waved lazily. "Is it me, or does Bakugo seem too chill?" Kaminari murmured. Bakugo roared, "What did you just say?" "Never mind, he's fine." Bakugo knocked on Kaminari's shoulder as they turned the corner of a hallway. He spun around, but Bakugo covered his mouth with his hand and pulled him into a private room. Bakugo and Kaminari returned to the outside together a short while later. Izuku said, "The control room is just beyond this secure containment and emergency lights depot," as they entered a lengthy, twisting hallway that led to several rooms. "Why is containment spelled with a K?" "Because the sea got blown up with the rest of the Alderaan." The message, "Intruder detected. Sealing off SKELD," flashed on the alarm. The two doors that led to the exit slammed. Mineta cried out, "We're doomed," as she banged on the walls. Holographic screens hovered in front of each student, saying, "I can get us out of here, but I have a list of tasks I need each of you to do. Once they're all complete, I can open the doors." Jiro remarked, "This feels awfully contrived. Why do we have to do a med scan?" Izuku vanished. The students shrug and divide up to finish their assignments. The vent beside Iida exploded as he opened the manifolds over in the reactor. "Oh, hello, Kaminari-san. How did you fit in there?" Ochako entered a few seconds later. Out of the ceiling popped a megaphone. "What am I supposed to do with this?" "Report the body," replied Izuku. Okay." Everyone teleported to the cafeteria table as soon as Ochako pressed the button. "Come on, I was just about to finish my download." I found Iida's legs in the reactor room." "Just his legs?" "Ooh," exclaimed Mineta. I know what's going on, there's an imposter among us. Mineta was glared at by everyone. Sato got up and took Mineta's head. Sato exclaimed, "Yeet the child," and threw him into space as the others opened the airlock. So, back to work. Yaoyorozu went into the administrative room after Kaminari. She hurried up to the table and pressed the button a few seconds later. "Again?" yelled Sato. "Could you have waited 2 seconds for my download?" Kaminari finished card swipe on the first try. Kaminari was the center of attention. Kaminari returned the blank stare. The assassin robot drifted through space a few seconds later. As they were all seated at the table, Yaoyorozu exclaimed, "I guess he was a robot after all. Good thing we killed it, since robots are all evil, right?" Bakugo continued, "That's such an overplayed stereotype. Robots are no different morally than any other sentient being." Everyone gazed at Bakugo in disbelief. Robot Bakugo floated through space after Sato slammed the button so forcefully that it broke the table. The doors were opened. After showing up, Izuku declared, "I hacked the system. Let me in. Let me in," Mineta yelled as she hammered on the ship outside. 1A and the security station were separated by a narrow bridge that looked out over an infinite gap. Darth Vader stood on the other end, his crimson lightsaber drawn, watching them. Ojiro questioned, "Why am I the one with the lightsaber again?" "You're the one with martial arts training. Yeah, in judo. I don't know any Sorazu." "The fact you even know about lightsaber forms makes you the most qualified here," Zero stated. "Crap, you have a point. Wait, how do you know they're lightsaber forms?" Zero taped his hands together in a hurry. Whoops, silly Zero got his hands taped together again. "Guess you have to fight the Sith Lord. I hate you so much." Vader extended his hand to Ojiro. Ojiro flew in the direction of the Sith as gravity shifted. He deflected Vader's blow and raised Izuku's lightsaber. Quickly landing on the bridge, Ojiro swung, battered, and jabbed at Vader's defense. Vader did not even flinch as he blocked each attack. Ojiro fell back, cursing, as a line was drawn along his chin by a sudden flick of the crimson blade. "Hey, you're welcome to help out anytime," 1A replied. "My hands are still taped together. Do you really want me to put another hole in this ship? I'm all out of sugar, sorry. The light burns too brightly for any darkness to draw near." A mocking, "Thanks a lot," was Ojiro's response. He deflected an overhead blow from Vader. He staggered back from the forceful attack. Vader tossed a far-off crate at Ojiro's back as he steadied himself. Ojiro swatted his tail at the box. "Huh, my quirk's useful after all." Vader used the force to seize a stack of saw blades. The buzzsaws flew past Ojiro, who yelled and jumped away. "That's cheating. According to Vader, I am a Sith Lord, am I not supposed to cheat?" Ojiro let out a groan. Point. Until Vader knocked the lightsaber from Ojiro's hands, the duel continued back and forth. According to Vader, there is no escape, do not make me destroy you. "I'll never join you," exclaimed Ojiro, "you killed my classmate." Vader removed his mask and said, "No." Bright green eyes gazed down at Ojiro, while green hair poured out of the helmet. "I am your classmate." "No, that's not true. That's impossible. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. We saw you get melted down into a coffee cup. Just a stunt double. It could not handle a lightsaber very well, so I had to be careful." "And the Force Ghost thing?" Nezu walked in wearing his black bathrobe and exclaimed, "My idea. I thought about doing the whole Return of the Jedi bit, but this exam has gone on long enough." "Exam? Wait, how did we do?" As Aizawa removed his stormtrooper helmet, he said, "You all failed. You got captured too easily and nearly killed yourselves multiple times. You'll have a lot of training to do during summer camp." An alarm went off, warning that Earth would soon be destroyed. Aizawa gave Nezu a fierce look. "This better be a part of the exam." Nezu exclaimed, "It is now," while laughing. Bakugo thought about the large red, self-destruct button. "Huh. You can't fool me, Deku. I know that's just a decoy. The real self-destruct button would be much harder to push." He looked at the wall of buttons in front of him and noticed the two-man switch. Of course. They must have set up a synchronous switch, thinking humans could never work well enough together to activate it, and disguised it as a destroy planet switch. However, I have a secret weapon up my sleeve. Bakugo extended his hand and just managed to touch both switches. He pushed and primed both buttons. The voice of Powerloader declared, "I'm a Furin Ma Lassa. T-minus 15 minutes to Earth's destruction." Bakugo stared in disbelief at the loud alarms. Those fiends. They disguised the button to destroy Earth as a destroy Earth button. If I find the real self-destruct, I can save the planet. Bakugo pressed a button at random. Never gonna give you up, was played. Bakugo pressed the button once more. Never gonna let you down, the music went on to say. Bakugo cracked the plastic by punching the button. Never gonna run around. Half the wall was destroyed by an explosion. Pressing all the buttons at once caused the cargo bay to explode open, strewing Nezu's tea collection across the universe, the Death Star's left blinker to turn on, the windshield wipers to clean the bridge's window, and the entire Death Star to light up like a disco ball. Undeterred, the song continued, or desert you. Come on, one of these has to be it. Bakugo pressed each button before returning to the large red button. Very clever, disguising the self-destruct button as a self-destruct button, but I see through your lies. Today is our Independence Day, exclaimed Bakugo, panting with exhaustion. Bakugo pressed the button for self-destruction. Nothing took place. Bakugo hit it repeatedly in confusion. A recording of Nezu was playing on a screen that slid out of the wall. Did you really think I'd allow a self-destruct button on my bright shiny new space station, right where anyone could press it? For shame. Now, I know what you're thinking. What self-respecting weapon of mass destruction wouldn't have a self-destruct button? That's why I took the liberty of installing my own button. An even larger, redder, and shiny button was revealed when the wall slid aside. Bakugo slammed it, but nothing came of it. Of course, I can't just let anyone destroy this multi-trillion-dollar weapon of mass destruction, which is why you also need to give a verbal password. Password? Repeated Bakugo. Correct, you may fire when ready. Bakugo repeatedly slammed it, but nothing occurred. Oh, you should see the look on your face. Well, I can't, I'm just a recording, but I'll have a picture of it in my office later. Screw this, said Bakugo. I'm making my own self-destruct button. Bakugo shot a gauntlet into the Death Star's energy core. Sparks flew from the station, and the entire thing shook. 10 minutes to core breakdown. Yes, 9 minutes to Earth's destruction. Fuck. While Nezu drank a cup of tea in contemplation, the class sat in tense silence. But where would be the fun in that? Nezu whispered, I could simply deactivate the firing sequence, before snapping his fingers. Power loader, beam us down to Texas. You have a Star Trek transporter on the Death Star, replied Ojiro. It's my doomsday weapon, I'll do whatever I want with it. They appeared again in a tiny, dusty town. A lone tumbleweed rolled past heavy-set men gorging on fried chicken and greasy hamburgers and red-necked hillbillies with shotguns. Nezu took a whiff of the air. Gunpowder and frying oil, this is Texas all right. A man fell, clutching his arm, as a gunshot rang out. He was pulled onto a stretcher by an ambulance that had swooped out of a nearby alley. No, please, exclaimed the man. I can't afford the premium. Nezu gave a headshake. Poor tea-dumping bastards. Nezu led the class into a dimly lit saloon through a set of batwing doors. Behind the bar, a dirty man with half of his teeth polished a beer glass. Don't know how young they do it in Vietnam, he said. But the drinking age is 21. I can offer you guns though. We're here for the Hank special. Finest slab of chuck this side of the Mississippi, coming right up. With crowns of bacon on top of each frisbee-sized beef patty, fried onions, fried pickles, fried tomatoes, rivers of cheese, and enough melted butter to lube a sumo wrestler, the hamburger that came out of the kitchen sagged over a huge plate of fries. Yaoyorozu went pale. Please say that isn't for me. No better way to gain some body fat, Nezu said with a cheerful reply. Hurry up now, Earth's running out of time. Yaoyorozu swallowed and sat down in front of the oily monster. Her whole body twitched on the first bite. Fat was evidently growing in folds, causing her belly and thighs to swell. I think I'm sweating butter. Lard, actually. Keep going, this'll need a lot of glass. Everyone rolled Yaoyorozu back out the saloon doors after she was done. That ought to be enough. Make a mirror, as big as you can, Nezu said, the Death Star glowing menacingly overhead. An enormous piece of glass exploded out of Yaoyorozu's swollen stomach, and she grunted. The glass stretched from horizon to horizon, blocking out the sun, and she felt her body shrink on itself. Perfect. Now, it should be firing in 5, 4, 3. The heavens blazed with a burst of green light. It fired back into space after striking the mirror and crackling along the silver plating underneath. There, wasn't that a fun way to save Earth? Shoji questioned, is it me or is it getting colder? I solved global warming too. You're welcome. Should we be worried that the laser might hit something? I'm sure it's fine. Also, aren't we forgetting something? A green flash shot toward Mineta as he floated through space. It was only a few inches from his face. Phew. I almost died there. Hold on, not that. Not at all. Proceed a bit further. A green flash shot toward Mineta as he floated through space. It was only a few inches from his face. Phew. I almost died there. No, it's too far. Please retract a few lines. Shouldn't we be worried that the laser might hit something? I'm sure it's fine. Excellent. Space is now empty. Like, completely empty. After going all Pikachu on everything, it was emptier than Kaminari's noggin. The laser had a reasonable chance of burning Mineta down to a few stray carbon atoms and sparing the female half of humanity. But everything else? Mineta just so happened to be floating close enough to Earth. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, only the haystack is full of irate honey badgers and the needle is on the moon's far side. Given all of that, one could reasonably assume that a laser aimed into space would pass through without ever striking anything significant. However, there is a minor issue with that line of reasoning. There is no end to space. Even though you have almost no chance of surviving a group of angry honey badgers, God might have mercy on you once and place a flamethrower in your lap after you've made an endless number of attempts to repel them. By the way, I was only providing a hypothetical illustration of how probability operates, and you will still die. Therefore, even though it is extremely unlikely that a laser fired at random in space will come into contact with anything at all, it will unavoidably run into something significant over the infinite distance of the universe. A few of those significant items are described below. An extremely powerful laser. From the bridge, Shepard observed the small HSA fleet gathered in front of Earth as innumerable Reapers pounded it. As Garrus finished his own dose of dextro liquor, she handed Joker a bottle of cerise ice brandy that she had recovered from Chakwa's office. Garrus remarked, "It's been quite a run, hard to believe that just the two of us made it out alive. With my luck, I figured I'd be the first to go." Joker moaned, "Hey, what do you mean by two of us? What am I, chopped liver?" Garrus smiled, "In about 5 minutes, yes, touché." The Normandy was suddenly filled with a voice that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. "Shepard, step forward and fulfill your destiny." Garrus remarked, "Ooh, sounds ominous. How are they doing that?" Joker searched the ship's information. "They've patched themselves through our comms. Here's an idea, why don't we hang up on them, for old time's sake?" When Shepard said, "Let's play along for now, maybe there's a way to talk this out." Garrus gave a snort. "Where have I heard that before?" One Leviathan moved forward until it nearly touched the ship as the ship sailed in the direction of the Reaper mass. Shepard. The Citadel's savior, the first human ghost, and this cycle's last glimmering hope. You have undoubtedly made the most mistakes a human being could make out of all the possible routes you could have taken. You even created some that our simulations were unable to predict. Hey, Shepard returned the shout. "I did my best, it's not like I had any help." Ashley and Caden were both lost on Pharos. Morinth turned against you after you spared her. While hesitating on side missions prior to completing the Omega-4 relay, you lost your entire crew, including Dr. Chakwas. You didn't even destroy the partially completed Reaper, and half of your crew died at the collector base. While looking for the Crucible, you unintentionally destroyed the Asari homeworld's defenses, brought indoctrinated Rachni onto the Crucible, allowed the Geth and Quarians to destroy each other, and lost the loyalty of both the Krogan and the Solarians by failing at the genophage cure. The harvest has started, the Crucible has been destroyed, your allies have abandoned you, and your crewmates are all dead. The Reapers got a point. Garrus shrugged, "I'm not sure how things could have gone any worse." Shepard hissed, "Quiet." She cleared her throat before saying, "That may all be true, but I have one last trump card to play. Stand down and return from whence you came, or I will annihilate every single one of you." Joker swigged the last of the brandy and said, "Ooh, whence, nice word choice there, Shep. We won't be put off by your baseless threats, Shepard, you will die." "Well, it was worth a shot. Fire the main cannon." "Time to go out in a blaze of glory," Garrus declared while pointing the Thanix cannon for fire. "I've calibrated this bad boy for 3 years, it's time to make it count." The whole Reaper fleet was engulfed in a green laser as the cannon fired. Only a few stray wisps of plasma swirling in the vacuum of space were left of the Reapers after the light had gone out. When the comm came on, Admiral Hackett was encircled by mobs of inebriated officers who were applauding. "I don't know how you did it, Shepard, but you've saved the galaxy. On behalf of all of mankind, thank you for your service." No problem." Shepard out. Shepard slumped into her chair as the channel closed. About damn time something went right for once, am I right? The Joker said, whistling. Gazing out the window toward the source of the light, Garrus exclaimed in awe, what I wouldn't give to calibrate that gun. To venture fearlessly where no laser has ever been. Captain's log, stardate 42069.7. The Enterprise drifts through empty space en route to our next destination, some remote planet with heretofore undisturbed life which I will inevitably disrupt even though it goes against Starfleet doctrine. Captain. They have an unknown energy signature on a crash course with our ship. Captain Kirk asked, can you say that in English, Chekhov? I don't speak Russian. Spock gave an eye roll. He said that we have an unknown energy signature heading for our ship. It would be wise to engage evasive maneuvers and activate our sensors to find out where this disturbance is coming from. He said, we could do that, Kirk. He sipped from his coffee mug and gestured towards the pinprick of green light. Or we could fly straight towards it. Why would we do that? I'm not saying we should. I'm just pointing out our options. What was the point of pointing out an option if we aren't going to consider doing it? Coffee spilled everywhere as Kirk slammed his mug onto his chair. You know what, maybe I will have us fly straight towards it. Guys? Said Chekhov, it's getting closer. And maybe I'll incite a mutiny among the crew and wrest the bridge from your control, replied Spock. And maybe I'll make a mutiny against your mutiny and take my bridge back. On his display, the Russian navigator gazed fearfully at the approaching laser. Captain, your orders? Quiet. Kirk and Spock yelled as they turned on the Russian. The ship was struck by the laser. Before the steering and power stabilized, the Enterprise rocked violently and the lights flickered menacingly. Kirk leaned forward and spoke into the intercom, and the bridge fell silent. Scotty? What are the damages? The laser tore through the red shirts' quarters. Every single one of them was vaporized. According to Kirk, their sacrifice will be remembered, he said gravely. Anything else? Well, the laser also destroyed the coffee machine in the break room. The captain's face broke down in tears. No, not the coffee, anything but the coffee. With a moan, Spock said, Kirk, there's a spare machine in storage. It's not the same, in any event, we need to acquire reinforcements for when we inevitably run into hostile forces. Yeah, I'm calling HQ. When the call ended, Kirk replied, hey, could you send over 50 red shirts? All of ours died in the line of duty bravely defending their comrades or whatever. Oh, and send another coffee machine, extremely important, morale will plummet without it. No problem, exclaimed the operator, beaming them directly to your crew quarters. Captain Kirk ended the call. There, problem solved. Spock grimaced. Captain, they're being sent to the crew quarters. Yes. And? The crew quarters that just got vaporized by a passing laser. Beyond the viewing deck of the bridge, blue-skinned, red-shirted figures with bulging eyes floated by. A coffee maker drifted by, dripping brown liquid blobs into zero-G space from a fresh pot. To a floating corpse Kirk yelled, grab the coffee machine. Yep, that's it, just a little closer. Nope, no, damn it, you were supposed to grab it. What do they teach you guys these days? Sighing, Spock remarked, this is going to be a long voyage. In a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago. Former Emperor Palpatine looked at the Death Star floating in orbit on a desolate planet on the far side of the outer rim and laughed uncontrollably. Finally, after spending all my remaining resources, I have finished my new Death Star. There's no possible way the rebels could destroy the Death Star a third time. I even made sure to remove the exhaust ports and Millennium Falcon-sized hole strayed to the ship's core. With this, I shall assert complete dominion over the galaxy and have unlimited power. The sky of the desolate planet was illuminated by a bright green flash. After striking the Death Star and vaporizing it entirely, the laser proceeded through the universe unabated. Palpatine gazed at the residual dust cloud from his life's labor. With despair rising within him, the Sith Lord looked up at the empty sky and yelled, no, with all of his rage and despair. Dub dub wubba lubba. Morty awkwardly stood around, staring at the boxes of gadgets strewn all over the garage as Rick idly tightened the bolt on his latest mechanical invention. Hey Rick. Do you get the feeling that there's supposed to be some kind of, like a big green laser thingy crashing through here any moment from now? Rick held up a clear glass case with flickering green light inside and said, I know exactly what you mean, Morty. That's why I already captured it in this fancy box thing I whipped up. Might finally get to replace that micro-universe I've been using for a battery. Here, catch. Morty fumbled with the box that was casually thrown at him. It shattered as it struck the ground, and the laser tore through the Sanchez home, destroying all life on the planet and leaving behind a blackened landscape. With a sigh, Rick turned off the force field that had erupted around him and Morty. What part of catch do you not understand? You're lucky I just invented a device to rewind the entire planet by 30 seconds. Watch, he said, kicking at a piece of box at his feet. Rick pressed a button. Around them, the world became hazy, and everything resurfaced in wavy, hazy shapes and vivid pastel colors. Huh. Didn't realize I had this thing set to Dolly. Welp, it's all out of unobtainium for now, so I guess this is home until we get back to Floorbacks V and make another deal with the Meatmorp. Is Jessica going to be okay? Who cares? This bit's dragging on too long anyways. Quit hogging all the screen time, Morty. No one likes an interdimensional cable with just one ad playing the whole time. Ooh, can we watch that next? Fuck yeah, interdimensional cable, Dolly edition. Wubba lubba dub dub. See you later, cowboy in space. While underscore fried some broccoli on his skillet, Spike paced anxiously outside the kitchen. Spike said, let's go down the list again. Jet gave a nod. Faye? Spike smiled and pulled out a tablet, still locked in the brig. Hey, I need to use the restroom, Faye yelled, staring straight into the camera. That'll be 47 billion wulong, Spike said over the television. 47, I'll shove those wulong down your throat when I get out of here. Spike closed the tablet. That's Faye settled. What about Ed? A bag of dried mushrooms was rattled by Jet. Add some of these to the child's soup. He has spent the last few hours swimming in his bed linens, staring at imaginary fish. A huge mushroom. Transfixed, Ed remarked, perhaps it's friendly. How about the canine? Given our luck, it could turn our stash into a snack, Jet inquired. Ein isn't going anywhere, Spike said, tapping the kennel at his feet. That's correct, you snarly little mutt. Jet trembled where he stood and blinked away a few tears after Ein gave him the galaxy's saddest puppy eyes. Look at him, he looks so sad. Remain concentrated, for 47 billion wulong, Spike yelled. Say it again after me. Be strong, Jet. 47 billion, 47 billion, Jet inhaled deeply as he finished the mantra. Be resilient while the ship is being repaired. Be strong for the hot showers we'll finally fix. For the brand new chefs, as the handle came off his skillet, Jet enthusiastically added. Broccoli and beef with no broccoli. You still need to eat your vegetables, Spike. We've only eaten veggies for years, for a month straight, I will only eat meat. Your funeral, you know, Spike said, taking a drag from his cigarette, things are finally looking up for us. Nope, don't begin. You are aware that Murphy is working against us. Live a little, Jet, please. We're an hour away from cashing out, the entire ship is locked down, and nobody knows we have the money. What might go wrong? Jet sourly glared at Spike and said, that, as the ship jerked violently, scattering half-cooked broccoli across the kitchen floor. That might not work out. Mangled metal and scorched scraps of money floated out into the emptiness of space as they hurried to the cargo hold. Who shot at us? Spike inquired. There aren't even any ships in range. So, what? We were struck by a misfire. Jet shook his head and said, Spike, what did I tell you? Murphy is out to get us. They turned around when they heard footsteps. Hey boys. Faye wrapped one finger in a pair of handcuffs and said, where's my 47 billion wulong? Ojiro's wish for a backseat DVD player was the beginning of it all. The request swiftly progressed to game consoles, chips, popcorn, and soda after a TV screen grew out of the seat. Mina then made a playful request for a DDR game. At Minetta's request for Mount Lady nudity, the bus formed a line, but otherwise grew to accommodate all of their demands. Koda cared for a small flock of rabbits in his personal petting zoo. Bakugo laughed uncontrollably while he slaughtered robots in his own arcade. Aizawa retired to a soundproofed bedroom, and Aoyama received a makeover from mechanical combs, hairsprayers, and trimmers. Wearing sunglasses and a bathing suit, Ciro sipped a non-alcoholic tequila from a coconut shell while leaning back in a lounge chair. Wrapped in a beach towel and drenched from his waterslide ride, Kaminari sat down beside him. Kaminari exclaimed, "This bus is amazing. I don't even know how they managed to fit an entire theme park in here. I wonder if they've got a food court as well." The wall behind him opened up as he spoke, revealing a taco stand, a pizza bar, and a burger joint. After exchanging silent nods, Ciro and Kaminari ran for the steaming hot food. Yaoyorozu ordered a light salad and sat down next to them as they devoured pizza burgers. Kaminari exclaimed, "Momo-chan, this is amazing," as he dripped oil down his chin. "I can't believe you lent the school a bus." "I didn't," stated Yaoyorozu. "Aren't all school buses like this?" Zero gave a snort. "You'd be lucky if there was gum under the seats to scrape up." "Wait. So, if this isn't Yue's bus and it isn't Yaomomo's bus, then whose bus is it?" The burger bar grew out of Izuku's face. "That would be me. I am the bus." In the abrupt silence across from the arcade, you could hear a pin drop. "I let my guard down, Deku. But I know the truth. It's all a distraction so you can initiate your plans to take over the world, isn't it?" Bakugo roared after smashing his fist through the arcade console. Zero complained, "Oh geez, there he goes again. I wish this bus came with a restraining feature." Bakugo's arms and legs were surrounded by metal bands. He bit at the metal and struggled, but the bindings held. "Cool. So, why exactly are you the bus?" "Aizawa-sensei let me eat the bus as long as I drove everyone to the summer camp." With a steaming cup of coffee in hand, Aizawa approached and said, "This way, I don't have to drive the bus. Speaking of, pull over. It's time for everyone to get out." "All right. Terminating bus mode." Aizawa's gaze expanded. "Wait, let everyone get out first." Izuku quickly returned to his normal size, squeezing everyone inside him still tightly. Squirming, Mineta uttered, "Guys, I need to use the bathroom." Saying, "Hello there Koda," Izuku extended his hand. "I am Izuku Midoriya." Reading Koda's thoughts, Mandalay quickly said, "No, Koda, don't," as Koda prepared his kick. Koda kicked. As Koda hopped on one leg, a metallic thump reverberated through the forest. "Ow! Why is your ballsack so hard?" Ragdoll let out a gasp. "Koda, language." "Shut up. You aren't my mom." Izuku made the observation, "You really shouldn't talk to your mothers like that." Then Koda punched Izuku, saying, "Shut up." The crying doubled, and his knuckles took on an unsightly red tint. Izuku said, "Please be careful, I am very hard." Pixie Bob said, "I'll say," as she leaned in near Izuku, "Aren't you quite the snack? I would not recommend eating me, as I am composed of multiple elements toxic to most human beings." With a groan, Mandalay removed Pixie Bob from him. "We talked about this." "Ah, come on. He's so adorable," Mineta exclaimed. "What about me? Aren't I adorable?" The wild pussycats' 4 members all trembled. "Anyways," Mandalay gestured over the edge of the forest. "Camp is that way. If you want to eat lunch, you better hurry. It usually takes us 3 hours from here." The words, "Quick, Izuku, become a bus again," came out of Kaminari's panic. Aizawa interjected, "No riding inside of Midoriya or on top of him. Also, mind the drop." "What drop?" inquired Iida. "Are you having us jump off that cliff? That is highly unsafe." A huge landslide occurred as the rocks gave way. Izuku landed on top of everyone, and everyone else landed in a heap at the bottom. "Can't breathe," wheezed Mineta from the bottom of the pile. "We just have to make it to camp." "How hard can that be?" Zero asked after everyone had been set free. From the woods, a stone leopard ran. Before it could gnaw Zero's face off, Izuku cut it in half. "I just had to jinx us, didn't I?" Bakugo stood over the shattered shards of the golems after a horde of stone monsters. "Ha! These stone robots are no match for Earth's greatest hero." "Chill, they're just rocks. Let's get moving, I can hear more on the way," Jiro said, kicking a terrified person. Kaminari exclaimed, this sucks. Why can't we just have Midoriya carry us all there?" Iida waved his arms at Izuku, saying, "You heard what Aizawa-sensei said, no riding inside or on top of him." Zero said, "What about underneath?" Izuku caught everyone's attention. After giving it some thought, Izuku remarked, "That does not contradict the teacher's instructions, but I would need more metal." Everybody turned to look at Yaoyorozu. Momo sighed resignedly as Kaminari pulled a half-eaten hamburger from his pocket. The pussycats were eating sandwiches while lounging in the hot springs when they heard a rumble in the distance. Is that a giant Roomba? It plowed steadily toward the pussycats' retreat, toppling trees along the way with a 30-foot-tall metal disc. Aizawa sighed from his own hot spring. "I knew I should have been more specific." With the shuffling of feet and vacant gazes of a zombie horde, the students hobbled toward the hot springs. Cross-eyed and glimmering with the occasional spark, Kaminari attempted to purchase an NFT via his mobile device. Ojiro's tail, as limp as a spaghetti noodle, dragged through the dirt behind him, Tokiyami shivered and clung to a flashlight like a life preserver, and Sato's eyes were bloodshot and twitched violently. Shoji groaned, "I'm never going to piss off Aizawa-sensei again," as he urged another multi-dimensional tentacle of Lovecraft back into the emptiness. In response, Koda wheezed something. "You say the funniest things ever, Mr. President," Kaminari exclaimed, laughing. Grasping his stomach, Aoyama combed his tangled, twig-filled hair. "Must stay fabulous." Blue-skinned on one side and sunburned on the other, Todoroki muttered to himself, "Even Endeavor never went this far." Zero crinkled as he walked, shriveled like dried seaweed. He lifted his head and sniffed the air as the hot springs approached. So he croaked, "Water, I need it." "Pinky up!" exclaimed Kaminari, holding a pinky limp up in the air. Mineta rubbed the spheres on his head while he was covered in dried blood. "I can't even feel my balls." "Me either." "Same." The marching corpses emitted dull echoes. "Well, I'm so hard right now it's painful." Bakugo pulled Kirishima by his feet as he plowed a furrow in the ground, his face frozen into a rictus of a smile. "Can't let robots wear me down. Must destroy computers," Bakugo muttered. Iida puffed out, "Rules, vandalism, private property," while walking on his hands because his legs were still smoking. "Stuff it up your exhaust pipes." All of them dove into the hot springs. Kirishima limbered up as he sank into the water. Zero's skin absorbed the water like a sponge, and Shoji returned to the physical plane. Aoyama exclaimed, "Ah, how magnifique," as the water completely transformed him in an instant. "I can think again," Kaminari yelled as he shook beneath the water. Bakugo leaned into the water and remarked, "The robots could attack right now, and I almost wouldn't care." Gleaming like a second sun, Izuku made his way to the spring's edge. "Perfect, a coolant reservoir." My core temperature was approaching critical levels. Izuku sank to the bottom as the water boiled and hissed around him. The forest was engulfed in a massive cloud of steam in a matter of seconds. The 1A boys sat on the exposed stone, simultaneously scalded and shivering. As the last small pool of water vanished into thin air, Zero scurried for it. "My water. My beautiful water." Bakugo's knuckles cracked. "So this was your evil plot all along. It's more sinister than I could have ever imagined." Shoji and Sato looked at each other. "We'll hold him down." "More hot spring water detected," commented Izuku. Refilling reservoir. Water began to pour up as he punched the bottom. Bakugo got out of the water, but everyone else cheered. "Where you going?" inquired Kirishima. "Water's awesome." "I'm not bathing in robot water. Probably has nanomachines or something." Bakugo roared. "Where's the lamb sauce?" Mineta responded with a shout, "We don't have any lamb." "Then go get some. You expect me to make a kick-ass curry with these wimpy cuts of meat?" "They look fine to me," Mineta remarked after examining the chicken breasts. Bakugo screamed, "Then get your eyes checked," but the meat remained motionless. "They're fucking frozen." Ojiro was attempting to cut onions when Bakugo stomped over to him. "Do you think this is a joke?" Bakugo asked, tossing the crooked pieces in Ojiro's face. "It's not my fault. The knife's dull, then get it sharpened." "With what?" Grabbing the knife, Bakugo ran it over Kirishima's charred flesh. In an instant, he cut 4 onions into precisely the right size pieces, his hand moving in a blur. "See that? That's how you cut an onion." Bakugo went over to the large saucepot and licked it after dipping his finger inside. "Bland." Juru remarked, "I put the spices in there, tastes fine to me." "You didn't even bloom them first. What does that even mean?" Bakugo threw the pot to the floor. "Nope. We're doing it over again." "But we're all out of..." Grabbing Yaoyorozu's ponytail, Bakugo combed through each of her individual hairs. He pulled on all of the hairs at once after he had 16 different spices, including bottles of paprika, turmeric, cumin, and coriander, emerged from her cleavage. Bakugo yelled, "Catch them next time, the dirt's doing their flavors no favors." Before he ran to Kaminari's rice pot, he demonstrated to Juru how to lightly brown the spices. He blasted it to atoms after cracking open the lid. "You didn't even wash the rice. Why would we need to? It's going in the water anyways. You are a disgrace to this nation and your ancestors. Now shut up and add some cumin seeds and cloves this time." Bakugo took a sip of the water that Mina was pouring out. Disappointed, he slapped his lips and uttered, "So dry." "It's water. How could it possibly be dry?" Bakugo put the water on the stove to boil. After that, he sprinted to the river, picked up some sand, and used his hands to blast it into a fine powder. Holding the boiling glass against Todoroki's cold side, he poured the remains inside. Bakugo took a sip. Now that's a glass of water. Mina's eyes grew wide as she said, "Let me try." "Wow, that's good. I didn't even know water had a flavor." "Hey Bakugo, why did you learn how to cook?" Sato inquired after dinner was served. Bakugo smiled and held up his bowl. "Robots can't taste." Izuku threw his own curry down his throat, complete with bowl. Bakugo remarked, "That had half a cup of pure capsaicin in it," while Kachan laughed. "No human could withstand that amount of heat. That proves it's a robot." Minetta's face flushed as soon as he took his first bite. Zero remarked, "Whoops. Guess I mixed up the plates," as Minetta sprinted for water. Bakugo boarded up the windows of the dorm building and piled shotguns in every room while Ojiro blew up balloons shaped like twos and Sato removed a two-shaped cake from the oven. "Yo, Bakugo," Kaminari responded, "I think you're getting carried away with that." Bakugo throttled him after grabbing him by the collar. "It's the day of reckoning. The start of the apocalypse. Tuesday. Isn't it Friday?" Bakugo pushed Kaminari's face with his phone. The Y2K people were onto something. They were right about the twos. It's all about the twos. But one isn't enough. It has to be all twos. And guess what today is? I just said it was Friday. Every single time before now had a 1 or a 0 in it. But now? Computers can't understand twos. Not like humans can. So, before 2222, they'll wipe out all of mankind so our clocks don't overload their processors. Then they'll install some new machine time that'll have nothing but zeros and ones in it. There was a balloon that burst. Bakugo spun around and snatched up a shotgun as soon as he heard the sharp bang. "It has begun," exclaimed Bakugo. "We will not disappear without a fight. We will not go quietly into the night." Bakugo smashed the remnants under his heel with a toaster. "Today, we celebrate our Independence Day." Bakugo's limbs were all bound with a gray scarf. While nursing a cup of coffee with the top first-year teacher on it, Aizawa went downstairs. "Wake me again, Bakugo, and I will have you cook my breakfast for the next month." Speaking through the scarf, Bakugo yelled, "It was planning our destruction. I have hundreds of villains plotting my demise. A toaster does not scare me." "It should. They're listening to everything we say, watching everything we do, analyzing all our weaknesses to rule us all." Aizawa stated, "That's Amazon's business model in a detached manner." Bringing a huge bundle of streamers, Izuku entered the room. Standing above him, Bakugo remarked, "When's the attack, huh? It won't be long before the twos overload your binary circuits." Izuku stretched out the streamers with his outstretched arms. "Why would a bunch of tens overload my circuits?" "Huh? You even speak in binary, robot." Zero displayed the time on his phone, which read 10:21 p.m. "It's almost here." Everyone gathered to observe the passing of the minute. As the seconds approached 22, Bakugo's hand brushed the shotgun. Bakugo held his breath until the screen was filled with twos. Then a 23 appeared on the phone. 24. "How are they still functioning?" roared Bakugo. Jiro gestured toward the month. "Hate to break it to you, but there's still a 0. Bakugo scowled at the 02 as it taunted him with its binary-compatible number. He snarled, "You win this round, robot. But mark my words, mankind will," as his glare turned to Izuku. Aizawa gagged him with his scarf. "I expect my eggs sunny side up tomorrow morning, and if you use so much as a drop of Tabasco sauce, I will expel you." Bakugo rubbed two sticks together angrily. Splinters from his attempt to blow up the wood were still in his hair. The thin metal rods of a tent bowed under the weight of the cloth, and the tent stood limply in the clearing, leaning precariously. The gloomy, cold night was pushed back by flashing lights and nightclub music in a veritable palace of canvas that towered over the treetops behind him. A new chorus of laughter broke through the clamor, and Bakugo frowned. The branches spontaneously ignited from the rage in Bakugo's glare. "Ha! Take that, robots! Your insidious plan to leave me out here to freeze to death alone has been thwarted by my finely honed survival skills." As soon as Bakugo's fire's embers died, a rain cloud swooped in, dumped rain on his campsite, and departed. Bakugo stomped off to find some dry wood, completely soaked and so angry that steam rose from his spiky hair. He ran into another student carrying a bundle of firewood as he was making his way back. Monoma sneered, "Fancy seeing you out here, Bakugo," while he picked up his wood. "Too good to slum it up with the rest of your 1A classmates?" Bakugo glanced up and down at Monoma. "You haven't fallen for the robot's lies. Guess you're smarter than I thought you were. That almost sounded like a compliment. So nice to see someone from 1A humbling themselves to acknowledge their lesser brethren in the truly superior 1B class. If they're so superior, why are they all in the Deku tent with my classmates? Monoma's grin became fragile. I'm sure that my classmates are merely indulging yours. We should work together. The robots are less likely to slit our throats and grind us up into spam that way. Right. Monoma locked onto Bakugo's head and gave him the elevator stare. Any reason why you're wearing your sombrero in a goofy fashion? I ran out of tin foil. That doesn't even, no, not going to say it. You do realize that attracts sea bears, right? Bakugo smiled. I was counting on it. Once they arrive, the sea bears will be drawn to the noise, lights, and cubed cheese platters in Deku's tent, thereby tearing down the devious fortification and liberating our classmates inside. As a lumbering beast entered the clearing, twigs snapped and leaves crunched. Bakugo rubbed his hands in delight as Monoma dropped his twigs in fear. See? It's happening. A bear-sized fish with a bear's head, the sea bear, flopped into the clearing with a wet plop. It writhed on the ground, gasping for breath. Monoma remarked, "Oh, right, sea bear, don't know why I was worried." Bakugo positioned his kick in line. After giving Bakugo a beseeching glance and shaking its head, Bakugo kicked the bear in the direction of the tent. The sea bear was swallowed whole by Izuku, whose face emerged from the canvas and opened its mouth. Bakugo yelled, "You win this time, Gadget, but next time, you won't be so lucky." Tiger grunted, not letting go, as Izuku advanced one more step. Ragdoll questioned, "Are you sure this is a good idea? I'm sensing that your lower lumbar region is about ready to fly apart." Izuku continued to walk while Tiger wheezed, "What, this? This is nothing. I'm a pro hero, after all. I can't let a student get the better of me." Pixie Bob stated, "We could always go back to my plan, though." "You sent waves of stone statues at him all day yesterday," Mandalay stated, "and he didn't even break a sweat. He even ate the ones we covered in metal plating." "Well, I don't see how this is an improvement," Pixie Bob said, pointing to Tiger's tangled torso that was coiled like a rubber band through the trees. The trees were clearly bent toward one another as Izuku strode forward. "We can actually hear Midoriya struggling today. I'd say that's an improvement." As Mandalay had described, Izuku's limbs groaned metallically with every step he took, like a hydraulic press trying to split the landscape in two. Izuku shoved a tree branch down his throat and smoke blasted from his body. "He's also destroying a lot of the forest. Between that Roomba thing he did and this, we'll run out of trees in a week." And they heard a great scraping sound. Izuku didn't advance any farther, but his feet made furrows in the ground. "Ha!" exclaimed Tiger with triumph. "Looks like we finally reached your limit." Izuku's arms reached out and gripped a thick tree branch as he continued to move forward as if he were on a treadmill. Every tree Tiger had wrapped around crunched with splintered wood as he pulled. 24 trees broke and fell to the ground with a loud crash. They were prevented from crushing anyone by Pixie Bob, but a cry of agony echoed through the demolished woodland. "Oh, my back!" cried Tiger. "I think I threw out my back." Scanning. Izuku's eyes brightened, and a beam of light moved horizontally across Tiger's stooped back. "Either you have a slipped disc, or you have cancer. Preparing operation." Izuku slammed his fist back, and Tiger's eyes grew wide. "No, wait, we can call an ambulance. Really, it's fine, no need to." Tiger's spine was struck squarely by Izuku's fist. Tiger let out a sweet sigh of relief after letting out a sharp cry of pain as his spine realigned. "Wow, that felt amazing. Did Recovery Girl give you training in field surgery?" Izuku studied his hand's pulsing flesh. "That is very strange. Your tumor looks a lot like a kidney," he said after scanning it. When Tiger turned around, he saw a thin, cauterized scar on his lower back, and he looked at it with dawning horror. "Can I please have that back?" Tiger said in a choked voice. As Bakugo painted a tunnel into the side of a cliff, Hagakure questioned, "Whatcha doin'?" "I've finally found a robot's greatest weakness. They can't tell real images from fake ones. It's why they struggle so much with finding the crosswalks on those online CAPTCHA safeguards." "What's the painting for?" "I'll make Deku run into it, so it'll shatter into a million pieces." "Why would you want to shatter the mountain?" Katsuki grimaced. "Not the mountain, Deku. You need to stop using object pronouns for Midoriya, it's really rude." "It is a robot." Hagakure let out a sigh. "And you're a sad, strange little man." Fixed on Hagakuri's chest, Mineta questioned, "Did someone mention me?" Bakugo smiled. "Yeah, Hagakuri was just telling me that there were a bunch of hot single heroines looking for action on the other side of that cave." Mineta's eyes swelled enormously. "Big titties, here I come." He ran straight into the side of the cliff. As Mineta staggered off in a clumsy daze, pebbles fell. Mineta staggered to the air in front of him and collapsed, saying, "Wow, these sugar mamas have some rock-hard abs." Bakugo said, "See? Works like a charm." Hagakuri laughed. "All right, I'll give you that one. But how are you going to get Midoriya to run into it? He's not even here." "That's the easy part. He'll be here any moment now." "Why? Plot convenience. Breaking the fourth wall isn't going to." "Hello classmates," announced Izuku. "I am here now, because plot convenience." "You need to head back to camp as soon as possible," Bakugo stated. "Why?" "Because villains are attacking." "They are? But I do not detect any anomalous lifeforms." "They have an anti-radar quirk. Also, that cave is a shortcut back to camp. But according to Google Maps, the shortest route is to run 30 miles upriver, climb up a treacherous gorge, and take a bus back to the campsite. They also have an anti-GPS quirk. Oh wow. I better hurry, in case they have an anti-clock quirk too." "That's right, so run through that cave as fast as you can." "Okay Kachan." Izuku shot from the sky. With a loud crack, he crashed full tilt into the cliffside. An Izuku-shaped hole pierced the rock and emerged on the opposite side of the mountain once the dust had settled. Hagakuri looked through the hole and saw the camp beyond. Huh, that really is a shortcut. Before Izuku made the hole, Bakugo moved in its direction and slammed his face against an imperceptible barrier. "Seriously?" Katsuki questioned, his nose broken in his hand. "How does that even work?" Disturbed by Katsuki's face's last blow, a boulder fell off the cliff. Katsuki's feet cast a shadow. He glanced up in time to see Mineta crushed by the boulder that had just landed next to him. "I'm okay," Mineta said in a muffled shout as she dug out an arm from beneath the boulder. Then Mineta was struck by an anvil that had fallen through the rock. Frazzled hair, wide bloodshot eyes, and trembling hands, Kaminari carefully placed a stone cube on top of a rock shelf. Using his fingernails to simulate the click-clack of a keyboard, his hands scurried over the shelf's grooves. Shrieked Kaminari, "Needs steam, where is it? It's not on my desktop anymore." With her fingernail, Mina drew a series of lines on the nearby cave wall. One line, two equal height lines, two shorter lines, and finally two horizontal lines. Mina touched the etched wall and asked eerily, "Is this loss? Never gonna give you up?" Mineta gently tapped a mallet against the chisel he held against a chunk of rock, with all the reverence and care a man might show a goddess. Midnight stood almost nude in carved stone, etched in marble. He rubbed his face against Mineta's cleavage after she had carved it out. "They don't jiggle. Why don't they jiggle? What good are they if you can't squeeze them?" With his bare hands, Sato tore apart the stone bust while yelling, "The walls are closing in." His maniacal eyes darted around the cave. "You'll never take me alive. Say hello to my little friend." Grabbing Mineta by the skull, he shot him like a machine gun, covering the area with purple spheres. Tokiyami rocked frantically, not even pausing when one fell on his head. It's dark, too dark. No gentle glow of computer screens, no flashing of an LED keyboard, not even the thin sliver of cell phone or tablet to hold the darkness at bay. And what a darkness it is. Living in this tech-deprived wasteland, soul-starved and restless of mind. Mandalay looked worriedly at the enamored students at the entrance to the cave. "Shouldn't we do something?" "Yes, I think you're right." Aizawa cleared his throat and said, "Would any of you like to know the Wi-Fi password?" while he sat back in a lawn chair and sucked jelly from a pouch. All the heads in the cave turned to face him. With vows to work harder in class, improve their grades, and give him their firstborn children, the students flocked to his feet and squabbled for the password. "Very well. The password is Kitties Are So Cute 245. As the students fumbled for their phones, they discovered that nobody was carrying any gadgets. Mandalay gaped at Aizawa as the students let out groans of despair. "Are you sure you aren't a villain?" Aizawa sipped his coffee and smiled. "For what they put me through, they deserve it." With glowing eyes, Izuku declared, "Password accepted. Wi-Fi connection established." "Do a meme. Any meme. I need it," Mina exclaimed as she hurried over. "Generating meme. Do you know why? How do you even get Wi-Fi out here?" inquired Aizawa as Kaminari began to play Doom on Izuku. My quirk, replied Izuku. Aizawa attempted to remove his quirk, but it was unsuccessful. Moaning, Aizawa rubbed his eyes and said, damn, worth a shot. Come on, this'll be a piece of cake, exclaimed Kendo when she boldly entered the moonlit woodland. I don't know, Kanoko remarked, watching the shadows with caution. Tokiyami's quirk is pretty scary. Oh please, Shihai's quirk is way scarier. Imagine what he could do with all these shadows. I guess so. Without a jump scare to break the silence, Kendo plodded on for another minute. Hey, who do you think's up first? She was met with silence. She turned to see that Kanoko had vanished. Haha, very funny guys. Nice scary movie tactics, splitting us up first. Well, you might get her, but you'll never get me. I'm not afraid of anything. She stepped forward, slamming into a wall painted to resemble the forest path, face first. Kendo located and turned a doorknob. She was expecting a haunted house, or maybe an abandoned alien spaceship. Instead, she was met with the bright, cheery lights of a large clothing store and the overwhelming scent of perfume. Awed by the scene unfolding in front of her, Kendo lingered at the doorway. How is this supposed to be scary? Oh, there you are, Itsuka-chan. Kendo's stomach fell to the center of the earth. No, not Auntie, anyone but her. She retreated and attempted to slam the door, but was grabbed by the wrist by a wrinkly hand adorned with 5 gold glinting fake fingernails. You really must try on this cute dress that I found. Let's see, come on. No, please, not the dress, Kendo whimpered as she turned to face the forest door, which had slammed shut behind her. Kendo screamed when she saw the frilly, pale purple monster, covered in enough glitter and sequins to induce epilepsy. Meanwhile, Kendo was gone when Kanoko stumbled on the forest path and got back up. Kendo? With timidity, Kanoko said, where have you gone? Kanoko hid behind a tree as a branch snapped and leaves rustled. Kendo? Tell me that's you, please. Brains. A tall, white mushroom protruded from the head of a pale, gaunt figure in a ragged shirt that hobbled out of the trees. No, not the cordyceps, I didn't intend to, I promise. Brains. The zombie lunged for her, howling. No, leave, hold on, foul mushroom, I command you. You will not stop me, mother, the zombie said, staring at her while the cordyceps fungus on top of his head remained motionless. I'm at last free. Kanoko staggered away as the zombie coughed a cloud of spores onto her, and she felt a stalk grow on top of her head. Kanoko screamed as she stared horrified at the expanding cordyceps. As the night was filled with 2 terrified screams, Yaoyorozu remarked, this feels really immoral. Izuku had 2 Facebook pages open with Kendo and Komori's biographies on them. We were told to scare them, Izuku said. The cries of fear show that we were successful. Where the hell are those brats? Dabi asked, looking at a watch farther into the forest. The doctor sighed and got a new needle after the first one he had tried to insert into little Eijiro's shoulder broke against his hardened skin. Now, Eijiro, be a good little boy and stop using your quirk so the nice doctor can give you your shot. No. With tears in his eyes, Eijiro yelled, I don't want to, it's frightening. I'm sorry, doctor, I don't know what to do, his mother sighed. His father leaned down to Eijiro and said, you want to know what's super manly? He cleared his throat and said, step aside, dear, I got this. Eijiro's tears instantly stopped. What, getting your vaccines? Really? The father laughed and said, obviously, the most manly of men smile while taking the needle and show off their shoulder to the world. Eijiro said, I'm the manliest man ever, and nearly tore off his t-shirt. Doctor, hit me. The doctor, never one to pass up a chance, poked the needle in, and even after the doctor applied a band-aid, Eijiro's face remained frozen in a pained smile. There, everything is done. Astonished, Eijiro gazed at his shoulder. Really? That wasn't even felt by me? My champion is that. You handled it like a man, his father had said. Yes. There is no man more manly than me. Bakugo stood on top of a cabinet, his hand crackling, while his mother climbed a stack of charred chairs in an attempt to reach him, while the doctor stood dazed in the smoking ruins of his room across the hall. Return here and take your shot, you little snot. Never. They are being implanted with microchips by the government. I refuse to have my mind rewired to submit to our machine rulers. In another room, Mina melted a hole on the floor in a nervous sweat, and her father sighed and said, I'll get the baking soda out of the car. The doctor stepped back. Giant tears were streaming from dark shadows' glowing yellow eyes as he shrank away from the doctor 2 rooms down. Very alarming. Avoid it from me, cried Dark Shadow. As he sat calmly in the hospital bed, little Tokiyami remarked, "You're not even the one getting the vaccine." The doctor was looking at the empty hospital bed across the hall, puzzled. Sir? Are you certain she's there?" Scratching his head, Hagakuri's father said, "Now that you mention it, she was really quiet on the car ride over here." "All right, here's your booster shot," the doctor said, placing the vaccine on the table in the farthest room. "What is its objective?" little Izuku inquired. "To protect you from viruses." "Understood." Downloading antivirus software, Izuku said after chomping on the syringe he had grabbed from the table. "Download in its entirety." Starting a file scan to check for malicious software. Antivirus software has identified malicious software. Currently, antivirus software is being removed. The doctor sighed and said, "I'll get another one." Izuku vomited up glass fragments, a twisted metal needle, and a tiny pool of vaccine juice. While 1A roasted marshmallows, Todoroki lay on one side, fire crackling merrily on top of him. "Horrible tales. We must share some," Mina yelled. "I'll go first," Katsuki said, shoving a s'more into his mouth. "There's a robot among us posing as a human." "Isn't that Midoriya?" everyone asked in a disinterested tone. "Hey. The truth is known to all of you, aha. Next up, me? You go to peek at the women's restroom, and as the mists part, look," Mineta said. "Old men who are wrinkled and nude." "You experienced that, didn't you?" Jiru questioned bluntly. With a shudder, Mineta gazed into the distance and said, "I still have nightmares." "My turn," Shoji said. "An eldritch being from beyond this mortal plane bestirs itself, ripping a gaping wound of inky smoke into reality itself." Kaminari paled as she looked up at the swirling black mist above the fire. Shoji?" From the void, a ghastly figure clad in the remains of the cultists that had summoned it emerges. "Good, they're all here," Shigaraki said, sticking his head out of the fog. "You're up, Mustard." Kaminari remarked, "Shoji, you can stop now, this isn't funny." The eldritch being breathed miasma out of its gaping maw that withered all life before it. Kaminari flattened himself on the ground and yelled, "All right, your story is scary," as yellow gas poured out of the portal. "Stop it, please. I haven't even reached the scary part yet where the eldritch being says, 'Hi son, how's your day going?'" Shoji blinked. "Well, who will be next?" As the gas drifted through the class, everyone suddenly started coughing and wheezing until they passed out, with Izuku being the only one who was unaffected. "Is it time for a nap?" "I was unaware that nap time was a part of campfire traditions," Izuku inquired. "Time to get our loot," Shigaraki said, covering his face with a gas mask. "Pull him up, Magna." Izuku's hair shot up, and he bounded toward the magnet after Magna stuck the end of it out of the portal. His weight pulled Magna down, and Spinner caught her by the legs. "They weigh too much. Help me," Spinner cried. The Nomu grabbed them and pulled them all up, but Izuku's weight steadily pulled the League of Villains down. "You see, I told you my plan was better," Dabi said, panting. "Shut up," Shigaraki yelled. "My plan would have been fine if they hadn't all chickened out. You intended to burn down the whole forest. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but this was much simpler." Izuku said, "Pardon me, but could you tell me why you brought me here?" The members of the League of Villains exchanged glances before Kurogiri muttered, "Remember?" He pulled out a Nomu. "According to Shigaraki, we're here to play video games." "Great, I adore playing video games." When Izuku's character struck a victory pose a few hours later, Shigaraki destroyed his 10th controller. That was a frame-perfect dash cancel. "How?" "Get good, maidenless noob. Did you roll a triple 10 again? How are you winning on Mario Party every time?" screamed Shigaraki. "It's totally arbitrary." As his character ran halfway around the map to gather another star, Izuku responded, "Actually, you can choose which face you get by observing the dice and making a precise input." Shigaraki dusted another controller and grabbed the enormous box of them Kurogiri had left, saying, "You hacking bastard. All right, next game. You can't even out-BS the never-ending rain of blue shells in Mario Kart." As he inserted the new cartridge, Shigaraki let out a wild cackle. The room's temperature dropped, the lights went out, the mirror in Shigaraki's bathroom cracked down the middle, the plant in the corner leaned away from the door, its leaves wilting and turning yellow, and the edge of a drinking glass was rimmed with frost. All for One strode into the room, his shadow looming over Izuku as if choking out the light that tried to reach him, the cloying smell of formaldehyde and other preservatives wafting around him. the slow, steady hiss of his respirator drowning out the happy jingle of the Mario Kart intro screen. "Hello there," Izuku said, gazing up at the embodiment of evil that had plagued Japan for the previous few centuries. "Do you want to participate as well? Shigaraki has a large number of controllers at the moment." "I've never had any interest in video games, not with all of Japan as my chessboard," All for One laughed. "I see." Izuku picked his cart, and the race began. All for One remarked, "I've never seen a quirk quite like yours," following the first lap. "Full synthesis of a new body from a head alone. Complete command over every single element of your composition. Unparalleled capacity for energy processing and storage. I could be whole again with your quirk." "Whole?" Izuku looked away from the game, but his fingers kept pressing buttons. "Are you broken?" "Yes. I had an accident 5 years ago." With a pneumatic hiss, All for One's mask came off, revealing the scarred, malformed lump of flesh that had taken the place of half his brain and his eyes. "Even the greatest quirks and state-of-the-art medical science can't give me back what I lost. However, your quirk can do what no other ability could. It can create new organs without the original. I could construct a new head, but I do not have the interfacing technology necessary to attach it to another person. Don't worry about the interfacing, I have the perfect solution." After placing his hand on Izuku's shoulder and observing it for a while in silence, All for One pulled his hand away. "How peculiar. It's not one for all's resistance or the empty vessel of a quirkless person. No, you somehow feel absent." "I need to vent some rage," the ancient villain said, turning around. Shigaraki cried out as the building shook. "You weren't even looking, how do you maintain your success?" The warehouse door was knocked on, and a hesitant voice yelled, "Delivery of pizza." "Did any of you order pizza?" All for One glared coldly at the door. Dobby held up his hand and said, "I got hungry, sue me." The majority of the league turned their heads away, unable to look directly into the villain's eyes. "What kind is it?" All for One cracked open the door. "Anchovy and pineapple." Shuddering, Dobby said, "Definitely not mine." The door and everything a mile behind it were about to be destroyed by All for One when Spinner remarked, "That's mine, actually." All for One threw the pizza at Spinner, who just managed to catch it, and glared so hard that Spinner's scales turned white. All for One knocked on the door again right away and inquired, "Did you get the extra flamin' buffalo chicken pizza?" "Yes." As Dobby took a bite, smoke drifted out of his mouth. Tastes like freedom." "All right, nice. There should be no more." After a third knock, All for One said, "Who else ordered a pizza?" in a voice as thin and sharp as the edge of a knife. "We're out of food," Kurogiri said from behind the bar, and each league member sheepishly raised a hand. "Toga gets sidetracked when I try to get her to restock." As she bit into her bloody steak pizza, Toga hummed, "I can't help it, when I'm out, I see a lot of cute people, so I need to have taste." All for One slammed the door shut so forcefully that it cracked the doorframe after everyone had finished their pizza. "That must be the final one of the..." The delivery man said, "I sure hope this wasn't a prank call." After hearing another knock. "When we say we'll put anything on our pizzas, I didn't think we'd actually have iron filings and copper wire." "You don't have any of that, do you?" the league was asked by All for One. Izuku remarked, "Everyone was ordering pizza, so I got some as well," while the league shook their heads. As his temper flared, All for One's mask broke. "How did you even know this address?" "I gave them the GPS coordinates. Did you provide these coordinates to anybody else?" Izuku's response was cut off by another knock, and a recognizable voice yelled, "Special delivery." The door was yanked off its frame by All for One. "At last. It's time to complete what I began 5 minutes ago." Holding the pizza like a shield, the delivery boy trembled and said, "Just take it, I don't get paid enough for this." The poor delivery boy rushed for his car after pushing the pizza at All for One, clipping a streetlight on the way. As another delivery person knocked on the empty doorframe, Izuku said, "I ordered more," adding, "since we are having a pizza party." All Might, holding an empty box and wearing a pizza chain uniform, said, "No, after you, at the end of a conga line of pizza workers. Don't forget to leave far behind when you're finished." "According to All for One, I've decided what we'll do with our prisoner." As Izuku's victory screen flashed again, Shigaraki dusted his final controller. "It's about time. The worst kind of missions are escorts. We will murder him live on TV, destroying the public's belief in heroes. Every news channel is directly fed into the camera in the corner. Shigaraki, put on a show for the world." With a smile, Shigaraki said, "Yes, sensei." Izuku consumed a leftover pizza box while the league assembled around the camera and introduced themselves. Shigaraki then delivered a lengthy, meandering speech about heroes and injustice that was laced with references to video games and abandonment issues. Now watch, everyone, Shigaraki said, slipping his hand over Izuku's shoulder, as the heroes in this awful system let another person down. There was a faint sizzle from Izuku's shoulder, and as the skin peeled off, a tiny piece of Izuku's shoulder broke off, turning to dust as fresh metal took its place. Shigaraki's eye twitched. Cut his head off, Spinner. That way, there will be more blood anyhow. This one's for you, Stain, Spinner said, testing the edges of his multi-bladed sword. Blood trickled down his hand as Spinner swung with all his strength, bending the blade inward and dropping the hilt with a yelp. Crap, I tore a claw. When Shigaraki looked at Dabi, he sighed and remarked, I just got my staples replaced yesterday. It's that, or we warp him in half. Kurogiri's polishing cup broke in his hands, and Dabi rolled his neck, saying, all right, but you owe me. Izuku was consumed by blue flames, and a moment later a blackened lump rested on a chair made of melting metal. Well done, said Shigaraki. I don't cook 'em any other way, Dabi grinned. Izuku's metal skin gleamed before fresh human-colored polymer oozed out like perspiration as he shook himself, scattering the ashes covering him. Kurogiri. Shigaraki exclaimed. No, I order you to. Behind the bar, a portal opened. Goodbye, I can't hear you. Kurogiri's glass smashed sharply to the ground, and Shigaraki sighed, let's try burning and decaying him at the same time. You better be right about this, he growled, spewing smoke from Dabi's staples. The room echoed with the sound of a ringing phone, and Izuku said, sorry, that's me. How? You were without a phone. I am a phone. After nodding in agreement with the words that only he could hear, Izuku cocked his head and said, Mom said I need to go home now. You won't be leaving. Izuku tore out of his restraints as Shigaraki grabbed him, and he kicked and punched the league members until they ceased to move, darting about like Gran Torino high on cocaine. My spleen, croaked Spinner. Has cancer, yes, Izuku replied. Do you want me to take it out? The door flew open, and All Might, his muscular body almost bulging from his pizza delivery uniform, stood tall. Have no fear, for I am not needed, apparently. Hello, All Might, said Izuku. Are you also attending the pizza party? The phone was ringing, and Inko nearly put it on voicemail. She picked it up instead, saying, you better have a good reason for this. Funny. I was going to say the same thing. Cut the crap, Hisashi, and tell me what you want. The doctor said you were barren. Her words were dry. Thank you for reminding me, she said. If you want to try again, go to hell. How curious, then, Hisashi said, that I got a phone call from UA telling me that my son got kidnapped. Inko gave her temples a rub. You weren't listed as an emergency contact. I wasn't, but as it so happens, the school is legally obligated to contact both parents in missing person situations. And last I checked, we're still technically married. Something I might have to fix. And fight a custody battle over our son? Inko yelled, he's not your son, Hisashi roared back, then whose is he? Did you have a doctor lie so you could sleep with someone else? Inko inhaled deeply before saying, he's adopted, asshole. The doctor didn't lie. Even after you left, I kept looking. Transplants, quirk therapy, nothing worked. Adopted, repeated Hisashi. He's your spitting image. That hair, those freckles, your eyes, he's practically molded in your. They were silent for a long time, tense. Then Hisashi started laughing uncontrollably. It's a robot, isn't it? That quirk of Izuku's. How very convenient that it lets it make and absorb mechanical components. You could stuff it full of weapons and turn it into a walking tank. My son is not a weapon. Sure it's not. So, you kept my name so no one would ask inconvenient questions. Not for sentimental reasons, that's for sure. Forged birth certificate? Hacked their systems myself. Does UA even know? Does anyone? According to Inko, you won't be telling anyone. You made an AI in your basement and let it loose on the public. Why shouldn't I? I can end your career with a single patent. Hisashi moaned. You planned for this, didn't you? Well, all right, but don't bring me into your mess. I won't call that thing my son, Hisashi sighed. Good. You don't deserve to. On the line, Hisashi lingered. As he poured himself a glass of liquor, the sound of ice cubes hitting glass reverberated. I know we didn't part on the best of terms, he said quietly, and I know that's my fault. I'm not going to apologize for that or say what I did was wrong. But, as someone who once loved you enough to put a ring on your finger, I need to tell you that you've crossed a line. It won't end well. You know that. So, for your sake, you need to move on. Like you did? Hisashi paused. Goodbye. Following the line's termination, Inko resumed drafting Izuku a new body. She could tell by this sensei person that her son would require it. Katsuki yelled, "We must get Deku out of the League of Villains." The group of 1A students exchanged startled glances. Wow, Zero exclaimed. I didn't expect you to want to rescue him, given, you know. Iida repositioned his eyewear. Well, I find it quite commendable that you wish to come to the aid of your fellow classmate. However, it is against the rules to use our quirks in public without the permission of our instructor, and Aizawa-sensei instructed us all to stay out of trouble while he deals with the hungry vultures. Iida looked up. I was not aware that Japan had a vulture problem. Screw the rules, yelled Bakugo. If we don't act now, then humanity will be doomed. The whole world as we know it will be lost. Kirishima said, Dude, Midoriya's your whole world. I didn't think you swung that way, but it's super manly to be so open about it. I'll swing at anything that's a machine. Microwaves, television sets, defibrillators, they're all plotting to take over the world. Kaminari trembled. I better keep my game consoles away from you. Grabbing Kaminari by the collar, Katsuki scorched his shirt, asking, harboring the enemy. Where are they hiding, and how soon are they planning to kidnap the mayor? Kirishima questioned, the League's planning to kidnap the mayor? Then we better hustle. Ochako strode up and held out her fist. We'll rescue Deku. His own fist was added by Kirishima. We'll get back Katsuki's world. Between them, Katsuki pushed his own hand. We'll stop their nefarious plans. The other pupils added their own hands one by one. Iida paused and then said, we shouldn't be doing this, but I can't let you go unsupervised. I shall join you all in whatever punishment you receive. All right then. Let's go rescue Izuku. Yeah, Katsuki responded, and smash Deku to pieces so the League can't use it. Yeah, was the echo from all. And smash Deku so, wait, what? Katsuki, exclaimed Ochako. That's not rescuing him. Did I ever say I was going to rescue that robot? An additional hand was added to the stack. You are rescuing someone? Who are you rescuing? Mina yelled, we're rescuing Izuku. How did you get out? The door was ripped off its hinges, so I walked over it. No, I mean, never mind. Mineta dusted his hands. Well, looks like we rescued Midoriya. Great job everyone. Over them a shadow descended. Did I just hear that correctly? You rescued Midoriya? With a collective gulp, the students looked up. Aizawa drank threateningly from his juice pouch while glaring down at them. Mineta was shivering. We rescued him from his boredom. Yes, that's it. So very bored, but now we're not bored anymore, right guys? Izuku scowled. That is not what you said. You were saying you rescued me, were you not? Mineta shuddered. Why, you must have misheard me. Aizawa let out a sigh. Detention, all of you. I have not had detention before. Should I order pizza? Izuku asked as everyone moaned. In the 1A dorm room competition, Mina yelled, all right Izuku, your turn, as she bounded down the hallway to the next room. As they got closer to the robot's room, Katsuki laughed to himself. There would undoubtedly be evidence of Deku's mechanical nature beyond that door. Katsuki called out, see, I told you all, I told you he's, as he rushed ahead of everyone and threw open Deku's door. When Katsuki saw what was behind the door, his voice died. All Might posters covered the entire surface of the small cubby, which was just big enough to substitute if you pressed your arms against your sides. One light bulb in the ceiling flickered weakly. Astonished, Kaminari said, Dude, is this it? Yes, this is my room. Why is it so tiny? Is it not spacious? I have an entire 196 nanometers of space along all three spatial axes, far outside the tolerance range of my movements in sleep mode. Sleep? Inquired Ojiro. How would you sleep without a bed? I tried beds, once. I broke every bed frame in the store. I was not allowed to try any more beds after that. Katsuki clenched his jaw. He had a gut feeling that Deku was concealing something. He had an epiphany. The room was obviously very small. The cunning robot had concealed everything crucial behind walls it had constructed. In order to prevent him from tearing down the walls without committing a most horrible sacrilege, it even placed old, precious All Might posters everywhere. Katsuki rapped his knuckles along the wall, looking for a spot where he could punch through cleanly, whispering, Forgive me, All Might. Deku inquired, Are you looking for the closet? Zero inquired, "You have a closet? How tiny is it?" Deku pushed along the far wall, and it swung back, saying, "It's right through here." A large room emerged, its numerous bookshelves, tables, and racks adorned with All Might memorabilia in a tasteful manner. "Hey, you have a bed in here, of course," replied Deku. "How else am I supposed to display the All Might covers?" Katsuki said, "You see what this all means, right?" "Yeah, of course we do. It means," Mina exclaimed, "that Izuku got us all good. Wow, I can't believe you got fake walls put up to make us think you slept in that." "But I do sleep in that." "Good one, you really had me going there." A definite 8 out of 10 for the prank. All Might staring everywhere, though, Mina was shaking. "Right, Sato's room next." "Is that chocolate frosting smeared around your mouth?" asked Ojiro. "Maybe. By the way, Sato gets a perfect 10. We didn't even visit his room yet." When the students had all gone, the merchandise walls folded inwards to reveal racks of mechanical limbs, weapons that could level entire city blocks, and devices put together by the best engineers in Japan. Izuku took the freeze ray and looked over the assembled machinery. "I believe I shall eat this one today." Wiping cake batter from his cheek, Sato said, "Well, everyone, how is it?" "Fantastic," Mina exclaimed, stuffing chocolate cupcakes into her cheeks. After delicately wiping her mouth, Yaoyorozu stuffed 2 cupcakes into her mouth at once. "I can't help myself. They're so good," she exclaimed, but it sounded like MFFRFLFRR. Izuku removed his cupcake's wrapper. As he examined each cake particle, his eyes glowed. Izuku carefully placed the cake in his mouth, breaking it up piece by piece as his mouth unhinged like a python. "Almost perfect," Izuku remarked. "A very impressive cupcake." Sato's lips froze into a rictus of a smile as his face twitched. He emphasized each word as he asked, "Almost perfect? Meaning not perfect?" "The concentration of sugar is too high by a margin of 1.83%. Other margins for your ingredients range in the tenths of percents." Sato tested the frosting between his fingers while glancing down at his cupcake platter. "Give me a minute." Sato ran straight through the wall, snorting a line of sugar. He returned with measuring spoons and a box of balances. He weighed out and measured each ingredient for his second batch, his hands moving in a blur. At the first bite, Mina fainted. Yaoyorozu overindulged until she was unable to move from her seat. "Very impressive," Izuku said after conducting another analysis and crunching the data. "You came even closer to the perfect composition of cupcake." Sato pierced Izuku's face with his bloodshot eyes. "Closer to perfect? Are they not perfect?" "There are roughly 2.2 nanograms of butter needed for optimal consistency." As Izuku presented his complete report, Sato shuddered. Before leaping through the ceiling, he jammed his hand into the sugar jar and pushed each granule up his nose. Upon his return to the kitchen, he set up delicate balances, volumetric pipettes, and microscopes that pharmaceutical labs could only hope to acquire. Counting out individual sugar and flour molecules, Sato labored over another batch of cupcakes, creating a confection that only a divine being could hope to equal. As Sato carefully removed the cupcakes from the oven, they radiated an airy glow. Every student on the campus was drawn in by the scent, which emanated from them like an angel's kiss. The cakes had the tender warmth of a mother's hand, and the pillowy frosting beckoned fingers to touch it. Izuku took a look at the last cupcake. "Very well done. The ratios of ingredients balance each other perfectly." Sato exclaimed, "Good." With a smile. He was covered from head to toe in cake batter and cocoa powder. "And how does it taste?" "I do not know." Sato stopped. "You don't know?" "I do not have any taste buds." Sato's gaze wavered. In a rage, he ripped into a bag of sugar, snorted the contents, and ran around the kitchen. He smashed the remaining cupcakes under his fists. Iida, dressed in a silver tuxedo, stood in front of a podium. The dimly lit, lavishly decorated dorm lounge was filled with the 1A students sitting in plush padded chairs, dressed in everything from Yaoyorozu's elegant red dress to pizza-stained Kaminari casual. First item on the first annual Yaoyorozu charity auction, a PS55. With its limited release, these highly sought-after console can sell for millions on the internet. Starting bid is at 100,000. Kaminari yelled, 500,000, while frantically raising a pile of bills. 1 million, said Yaoyorozu coolly. With a groan, Kaminari sagged in his chair. "Why are we having an auction when she can outbid us on everything?" Ojiro whispered to Shoji. "Just let her have this. She promised pizza afterwards." Iida glanced around. "Any other bidders? Going once, going twice." 1,001 yen. Midoriya held his own paddle aloft. You must raise the bid by a minimum of 100,000, Iida said, adjusting his glasses. Oh. 1.1 million then. 1.2 million, exclaimed Yaoyorozu. 1.3 million. 2 million, 2.1 million. Kaminari muttered in wonder. How does Midoriya have that kind of cash? Auntie Inko invented cold fusion, Bakugo stated. She still refuses to sell it because no one can scrape together enough money to buy it. Juru said, not even the US? She laughed the Secretary of the Treasury out of her living room. 5 million. 5.1 million. Mineta stared at the expanding numbers. At this point, you may as well buy it off the internet. How much do you think I could get for a kidney? Kaminari asked, sobbing as he browsed through his phone. Tell Izuku you have kidney cancer, Juru said in a nasty way. He could pop it right out for you. Great idea. Hey, Midoriya. Kaminari's mouth was covered with tape by Zero. Dude, no. It's not fair. 10 million, 10.1 million. Yaoyorozu checked her bank account and said, 10 point. As Iida began counting, she looked around anxiously. She grunted as she ripped her dress open and removed a platinum bar from her cleavage. 20 million. 20.1 million. Platinum Matryoshka dolls poured out of Yaoyorozu's ripped dress like rain. 100 million. Izuku increased the bid by the bare minimum once more. More platinum spilled onto the floor as Yaoyorozu yanked at the zipper, revealing her back. 100 million. 100.1 million. Zero made a duct tape cloak and tossed it over Momo as the frayed dress hung limply on her drooping frame. As the expanding pile of platinum threatened to engulf Sato and Mina, they switched seats. $1 billion. Wrong currency, exclaimed Iida. Bidding is in. 1.0001 billion. Despite straining and grunting, Yaoyorozu's skin did not lose a single ounce of platinum. All she could do was watch helplessly as Iida handed the PS55 to Izuku while swinging the gavel. Next up, we have a 100-inch plasma screen television. Yaoyorozu yelled, 1 billion, while wildly waving her paddle. 1.0001 billion. Tsuyu responded, why are they paying for things they can easily make? Shoto gave a shrug. I do it all the time with Endeavor's credit cards. As Mineta shuffled aside, her shoulders slumped in defeat, Kaminari asked, anyone else want to go? Izuku took the controller in his hands. This game looks like fun. What is the objective? Kaminari said, dude, you haven't played before? Don't expect me to hold back. I have a reputation to keep. When Izuku was choosing his character, Kaminari said, water hose duo. Mid-tier at best, and hard for beginners. Try someone else, as long as it's not All Might. This is fine. Kaminari gave a shrug, your funeral. When the game started, Izuku pressed buttons at random, causing his characters to randomly jump, hit, and spray water. Kaminari, meanwhile, skillfully steered Endeavor through the distracted assault and threw Izuku off the stage. The two heroes fell into the emptiness without a plan. The suggestion from Kaminari was to try using up B next time. Izuku moved more purposefully for the second stock, dodging projectiles and avoiding Endeavor's hitboxes. Izuku experimented with the mechanic after a block became a parry, but Kaminari threw him off stage. Kaminari slapped Izuku off with skill after he leapt to the ledge. Last stock, better get ready to feel the burn. Don't let your guard down, Katsuki said, quietly observing from the corner, robots are sneaky little shits. Kaminari said, well, that's rude, and hurled everything he owned at the water hose pair. Every hit was parried by Izuku. It said, download complete, Izuku, commencing attack. Izuku immediately launched an attack after the parry on the subsequent hit. Together, the two heroes slapped Endeavor back and slipped him up with water until he was spiked off the side by a well-timed combo attack. Kaminari uttered the words, holy shit, that desync, with a stunned expression on his face. How long have you been playing this? 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The smallest error resulted in a 30-hit combo and an unceremoniously off-stage dunking, even though Kaminari played more cautiously. Upon the announcement of Izuku's victory, Kaminari insisted on a rematch. Kaminari quickly chose All Might and hit start, while Izuku once more chose the water hoses. Dude, that's not manly, Kirishima curtly remarked. Whoops, it was a misclick, Kaminari reported, grinning like a wolf. Ah well, let's play it out. With a flurry of punches that could knock out opponents in a single blow and shatter shields, Kaminari charged in. Izuku caught All Might in a combo after parrying each one. All Might barely flinched from each blow and took no damage, but Izuku continued the combo by gradually raising All Might higher with successive water blasts. All Might eventually made it to the top blast zone, flew in the direction of the screen, gestured to the camera, and then leapt back onto the stage. Kaminari muttered in amazement, "I didn't even know he had his own KO animation," as All Might rose again. Everyone knew who actually won, but the game was forced to be a draw in the end. "Well, at least that wasn't a tournament match," Kaminari remarked. "My reputation is secure." Juru held up her phone with a sly smile, 50,000 views already. In the center of the cafeteria, a crowd gathered. Sitting motionless on one half of the table, Izuku Midoriya gazed straight ahead with unwavering eyes. Kirishima, on the other hand, met Izuku's gaze with a smile that hardened his entire face, including his eyes. "Mon ami, what a brilliant display of machismo," exclaimed Aoyama. "Just watching them makes all 35 of my eyeballs water," Shoji said, shuddering. "How deeply they stare into the abyss," Tokiyami said in a somber whisper. "I can only wonder how they haven't gone mad." "Go shitty hair." Bakugo screamed out. "For freedom. For humanity. Strike a blow against the machine." The smile on Kirishima's face faded. His eyelids twitched as he slowly rolled his head while maintaining eye contact with Izuku. "Water me," Kirishima replied, extending one hand. "You have had 3 water bottles already," Iida said. "While Midoriya hasn't had any. I believe it is a violation of the unspoken rules of the game you are playing with your opponent, and as such." After pushing Iida away, Bakugo slapped Kirishima's hand with a water bottle. Kirishima let the water run over his eyes and spurted all over his face. As Kaminari and Mineta set up a betting ring on the next table, money was exchanged rapidly. "Step up, we've got 5-to-1 odds favoring the Green Gazer. Place your bets, we've only got 5 minutes before the bell." Yaoyorozu arrived in a dump truck loaded with yen. "I'd like to bid all of it on Midoriya." Mineta and Kaminari turned pale. Kaminari began to yell, "Maximum bets 1,000. But Mineta covered his mouth with a hand. "Dude, think of how much we'd win. Are you insane? Just look at Izuku, there's no way he'll." Mineta called out into his ear, "We'll take that bet." Kirishima's eyeballs burned again, and he dug his nails into the table. His head swam and his vision became blurry, but he gritted his teeth and let out a loud cry of war. "I don't care if my eyeballs bleed. I don't care if they fall out of my head, I will not blink." Izuku's head cocked. "You will not? Why? Is there something wrong with your eyeballs?" No. There is not, and I definitely do not need to blink." "Oh, okay then. So why aren't you blinking?" At that, Kirishima almost blinked. "Because we're having a staring contest?" "A staring contest?" Izuku's gaze wavered briefly. "Oh, I understand now. The objective is to keep my eyes open for as long as possible, correct?" "Wait, so, you weren't trying to keep your eyes open before? Was I supposed to blink them? I have a subroutine written that makes me blink at periodic intervals, but I deleted it because the random digits it generated were plugging into my ICBM launch coordinates." The clink of hardened skin on hardened skin echoed throughout the cafeteria as Kirishima's eyelids slammed shut with the force of a speeding train. Bakugo, Mineta, and Kaminari all yelled, "Damn it," simultaneously. As he and Izuku walked up to a cat cafe, Koda signed, "Thank you for coming with me. I've been wanting to visit this place for a long time." "It is no problem," Izuku said, holding the door open. "I am very good at opening doors." Izuku and Koda entered, perplexed. Cats lounged in people's laps, snatched food off tables, and ran up perches and across catwalks above the fuzzy furniture. As soon as they sat down, the waitress brought over cappuccinos. Izuku stuffed the entire mug into his mouth while Koda sipped his. Izuku pointed to Koda's empty cup and said, "Are you going to eat that?" After passing his across the table, Koda sent it down the hatch. Izuku's lap was occupied by a cat. The cat leaned into Izuku's warm body and purred like a motor. Koda signed, "Wow, that cat really likes you. Cats like me a lot. Mom never let me get one because they scratch anytime someone tries to pry them off me." More cats stalked over after hearing the sounds of feline bliss coming from the cat by Izuku. Izuku's shoulders were covered in cats in a matter of minutes, and they were clinging to his arms, rubbing against his legs, and otherwise occupying every square inch of space that was in contact with heat. "Izuku, are you all right?" Koda inquired. Izuku replied, "I am in optimal physical condition," his voice drowned out by the cacophony of purring cats all around him. Koda attempted to grab one and told the cat to remove it, but the cat scratched his hand instead. For the first time, an animal would not listen to Koda, and he gawked. Customers rushed for the emergency exits as screams came from the cafe's entrance. Oh my, larger cats, a tiger, a lion, and a cheetah dressed as a bear, came charging in. The army of small cats hissed and arched their backs, refusing to concede, while the larger cats snarled. As the cats traded racial epithets and threatened to wipe out their species, Koda retreated, his face almost white with fear. With the cat's-like armor covering his body, Izuku got up and walked over to the lion. "You are a big cat," Izuku remarked while giving it a back-of-ear scratch. "Who is a good boy?" The lion rolled over for Izuku and purred contentedly. The others approached as he rubbed its belly, and soon Izuku had 3 large cats clinging to him. "Are you certain that's secure?" When Izuku said, "I will not crush the cats, I learned how to control my strength." A loud crash shattered the ceiling as Koda considered that alarming statement. Peering through the hole, a giant eye widened upon seeing Izuku. A skyscraper-sized cat glomped Izuku, and a huge, furry body crushed the roof, burying half of the cafe. Izuku scratched the titanic cat's chin from underneath and remarked, "You are a very big kitty." Seismographs all over the world recorded the purring of the cat. Shoji said, "Thank you for agreeing to this," as he used his bare hands to tear a hole in reality. The tapestry of reason and science was pulled back, revealing a roiling mass of eldritch horrors and unknowable sensations behind the thin, brittle curtains that protected humanity's sanity. "It is no problem," Izuku informed them. "I will be a hero, and it is a hero's job to assist in any way they can." "Yeah, well, my parents insist I bring someone over, even though last time I tried, Tokiyami's eyeballs melted. I'm hoping you'll be a bit more durable, or failing that, fixable." "I am very fixable," concurred Izuku. "Should I bring anything? I have never been to a friend's house before." "You'd best not. Material objects from this side of the divide have no identity to hold themselves together." Izuku followed Shoji as he took a step forward. Distance had fixed proportions of 1 centimeter per centimeter for exactly 52 and 6 centimeters. A centimeter can be a mile, a watt, or even a tarantula when it is more than 52 and 6 centimeters. Jazz felt yellow, red tasted like scratchy nylon, and up turned into down and sideways. I would continue, but I'm bleeding profusely. For a moment and a lifetime, Shoji guided Izuku through the unknown chaos. A suburban house with a picket fence and a well-kept lawn stretched across a Mobius strip as the swirling universe of rubber ducks and Schrödinger cats parted. "Whatever you do, don't look my parents in the eyes," Shoji said as they got closer to the door. Izuku saw a sea of eyes as soon as the door opened, gliding along the walls, looking out from beneath the oven, and swinging from the ceiling fan. From the sink came the motherly voice, "Welcome home, Shoji. And you brought a friend. Who is this?" "Hello," Izuku said, extending his hand. "Izuku Midoriya is my name, and I'm glad to have met you." His hand was shook by the tablecloth. "Why do you only have 2 eyes, child? Did something happen to you?" Shoji grimaced. "Mom, we talked about this." "Really? I thought that happened 2 years from now." Izuku's skin parted as eyeballs protruded from his arms and chest. "Should I have more eyeballs? I was under the impression that it was most optimal to have 2. Is that better?" "Ooh. I really like the color. Why don't you boys have some dessert? They're fresh out of the dishwasher." On top of a gigantic oatmeal cookie, a chair scuttled over with a stack of tiny plates that were still hot. Izuku gulped, chomping both pastry and ceramic. "Well, how are they? I think I tasted a W. Was that cinnamon you used?" The curtains triumphantly held a bottle of cinnamon with glass dust inside, declaring, "You've got good taste." Murmuring, "What a mad banquet of darkness," Shoji said. Then he gave himself a shake. "Great, now I sound like Tokiyami." As Izuku came into the kitchen, Iida saluted sharply, "Good morning, Midoriya-san." Then, "A wonderful day for studying, is it not?" "Indeed," concurred Izuku. "The current ambient temperature and humidity are both highly agreeable for the functioning of my core processors. Which subject do you prefer studying?" "I do not have a favorite. Showing favoritism towards any particular subject could cause me to neglect the rest of my education." Bakugo hid above the refrigerator and used a pair of binoculars to glare at them both. "Of course, how could I be so blind? He has freaking mufflers sticking out of his legs. Must be a prototype model." Unaware of the death glare above him, Iida opened the refrigerator and said, "Would you care for any refreshments, Midoriya-san?" Izuku displayed a motor oil carton. I have all the lubrication I need. Thank you. Before carefully folding the empty carton and placing it next to the other neatly folded recyclables, Iida removed the orange juice carton and poured the contents into a very tall glass. That is 5 times the normal amount of orange juice a person drinks for breakfast on average. Is there a reason you drink so much orange juice? Izuku asked as they sipped their communal refreshments. The vitamin C fuels my quirk, Iida stated. Without it, my engines would stall. Bakugo scribbled furiously above the refrigerator, noting Iida's weakness. Does motor oil help your quirk as well? You are correct, said Izuku. It is a highly efficient fuel source and also provides lubrication. There were more scratching noises coming from above the refrigerator. With a frown, Iida said, I do hope that is not a rat. Izuku's head cocked. I thought rats were allowed on the premises. We even have one for a principal. Iida quickly nodded his head and replied, no offense meant to Nezu-san, of course. I merely meant a rat of the non-intelligent variety, one that could pose as a vector of disease and destruction of property. If such is on the premises, we would need to hire an exterminator post-haste. Thinking that rat was some robotic code word for spy, Bakugo froze. Izuku responded, I have found 26 exterminators within a 20-mile radius of our current location. Would you prefer that I sort them alphabetically, by distance, or by price? Bakugo jumped and knocked the refrigerator over. I know the truth, and soon, so will everyone else. You'll never take me alive. Iida yelled, hey, after Bakugo. Running on the premises is a violation of Part C, Section 14 of the school rulebook. Are you going to eat that? Izuku asked, glancing at the overturned refrigerator. No. Izuku nibbled on the fridge. After changing into a green replica of the refrigerator, he patted into the cubby where it had been. I am a refrigerator now. Insert temperature-related pun here. You are a very odd person, Midoriya-san, Iida remarked, adjusting his glasses. As 1A and 1B students began to trickle into the mall, Iida yelled, all right everyone, pair up, and meet in the food court for lunch at precisely 1 p.m. Ochako approached Izuku cautiously. So, would you mind shopping with me? I don't really want to get much of anything, just look around. Acknowledged. We will go together. Ochako noticed a clothes store as they were strolling around. I used to dream about getting clothes from here, Ochako remarked admiringly as she gazed at a sophisticated dress on a mannequin. She winced at the sight of the price tag. Mind if I look around? Ochako walked reverently down the aisles, staring at the designer clothes. She noticed a cute blouse with a stylized mochi print on the front. She slapped her cheeks and shook herself after saying, what I wouldn't give to have clothes like these. She sighed as she looked down at her torn jeans and faded, threadbare tank top, saying, nope, it's fine. Thrift store clothes have their own style to them. A luminous green line crossed the tank top, and Izuku's eyes brightened. 19 coupons detected for selected merchandise. Calculating optimal coupon usage for maximum discount. As he printed out a long slip of coupons, Izuku's mouth opened into a slit and he made a whirring sound. Ochako took the coupon trail and her eyes glowed as she looked at it. Hey Izuku-kun? Are there any more coupons you can find? The music suddenly changed to an Elden Ring boss theme while the designer store cashier was quietly listening to pop music on his earbuds. Why'd I hear Dark Souls music? The cashier asked, perspiring. He heard the shrieking, slow creak of shopping cart wheels. The cashier stared as a veritable mountain of clothes trudged up to his register, crammed into the groaning, bulging frame of the poor shopping cart that looked like it would explode with every wheel rattle. The cashier scanned each item and stuffed them into shopping bags until they almost exploded, grunting resignedly inside. The cashier wiped his face and exclaimed, all right, then, your total comes out to. Ochako said, hold on, I have some coupons. A second shopping cart was brought by Izuku. This was Everest itself, whereas the first had been a mountain of clothes. As it stumbled toward the register, the swaying pile of coupons left paper striations on the ceiling. The cashier was buried when the cart came to a stop and the stack of coupons tipped forward. As he looked through the stack of coupons, one discount at a time, the cashier fought back tears. The strained voice of Ochako, who was carrying 4 bags on each arm, said, that was a lot of fun. We should do that again sometime. As the cashier closed the doors and put a out of business sign outside, Izuku, who had grown 20 arms and was carrying bags in each, turned to look behind him. Kaminari inquired, how long can you stretch out your tape? Zero looked down at his elbows. You know, I have no idea. Izuku looked over the tape. Izuku paused for a moment before continuing, calculating maximum length. Calculations insufficient. Performing field test. Wait, hold on, what are you? Izuku took both pieces of tape and fled across campus before Shiro could object. Across UA, a loud thud boomed as Izuku sprinted through the wall. Wow, I'm getting thirsty. Does anyone have any water? Shiro licked his lips as the tape unwound around his elbows with a loud whine. Then Kaminari held out his bottle. Yeah, sure, you can have a sip. Crushing the plastic into a thin disc, Shiro gulped it down. More, he exclaimed. I'll get a cooler, Ojiro exclaimed as he drained every water bottle in sight. Izuku's return to campus was announced by another thunderous crash. He entered from the opposite direction, leaving a trail of tape in his wake. As Izuku plowed through the opposite side, trash cans, newspapers, a raccoon dog, and a whole tree streamed past. Shoji questioned, how far did he go? His question was answered by a kangaroo that was biting and kicking at the tape that was snaring it. A cart of pineapples, the W from Hollywood, a 10-seat bicycle, Mickey Mouse. Or rather, a poor, underpaid acting intern dressed in a sweat-stained mouse costume. A perfectly cooked beef Wellington. A Karen demanding to talk to a manager, and one very perplexed cow came next. As the tape unfolded further from Shiro's elbows, his skin shriveled up. Can't feel kidneys. Hold on, Ojiro exclaimed as he dragged a full truckful of water coolers. The hydration is here. The wrinkles vanished as he flipped the cooler into Shiro's mouth, restoring the color to Shiro's skin. He was mummified again in a matter of seconds, and Ojiro opened another cooler. He yelled, hurry, start a bucket brigade. 1A immediately got to work, bringing hoses and water coolers over. Water poured down Shiro's wide mouth in torrents. Izuku came and went multiple times, carrying with him more and more national landmarks in the ecosystem of the world until the campus was overrun with debris from around the world. Lady Liberty danced with the Colossus of Rhodes. The Sphinx had the Eiffel Tower on its nose, and Tokyo Tower was still standing, albeit festooned with a ribbon of tape that was covered in peanut butter and howler monkeys. Izuku was running through UA again when the tape abruptly became taut. Izuku tugged at it a couple more times and said, that far. Sato said, great, from beneath a sheet of tape. Now, could you get us out of here? The other UA Izuku tied the students in a clump, and they all struggled to break free. Outside the campus, boats swam in water smeared with tape, cars whimpered and fought against the tape covering them, and even airplanes stayed grounded. Sure, I'll help. To everyone's relief, the tape was vaporized by Izuku's laser beams. Iida, who was observing with skepticism as everyone lined up on either side of the pool, remarked, I fail to understand how this game is supposed to help us improve as heroes. Kaminari responded quickly, it's for situations where we might need to hold our breath, it's important for us to know our limits. Ah, I see. A very good idea, I beg forgiveness for doubting your wisdom. Countdown was given by Kirishima. Everyone dove in at 3, including Izuku, who delivered a powerful slap that made everyone wince as he hit the water in a belly flop. Izuku and Kirishima sank like stones, while Mineta fought to stay at the bottom as the spheres on his head attempted to pull him up. They all smiled at one another as they sat around waiting after everyone had gotten comfortable at the bottom. Sato was the first to tap out after 2 minutes. Soon after, the rest of 1A did the same, leaving Tsuyu and Izuku at the bottom. With trepidation, Kaminari said, they've been down there for a while, after a while. You think they're okay? Tsuyu's a frog, so she's fine. But Izuku, I dunno, man. Do you think he's stuck down there? Ochako stated, he can literally turn into a boat, with a look of completion. I'm sure he's fine. How much longer is this going to take? I want to head back in with all the girls, Mineta asked impatiently after more time had gone by. Shiro gave him a raised eyebrow. With how bad you were at holding your breath, I doubt you'd get much of a view. While the majority of the girls decided to tie Mineta up the next time they went swimming and the majority of the guys laughed, Mineta sputtered angrily at the charges. Iida raised his voice to say, I believe we should go check on them. It is our duty as classmates to ensure their health, and they have remained down there for a concerning amount of time. Shiro said, and it'd be great to get back to swimming. When they all jumped back in, the pool was deserted. No way, they both jumped in with us, right? How did they sneak out? Have we been staring at an empty pool for half an hour? And which one of them won? Meanwhile, in the third-floor men's restroom, Tsuyu wriggled out of the toilet and through the U-bend. Izuku exploded through the plumbing in the stall next to her, causing the toilet to shatter into a million pieces. Suyu shuddered and said, "Do I even want to know why the pool's circulation system connects to the bathrooms?" Izuku responded, "Power Loader is not a good plumber," while he picked ceramic fragments from his hair. "Should we go back downstairs and inform everyone that the game is over?" Suyu considered it. "Nah, I'm sure they noticed we got sucked into that drain. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need a shower, with all the soap." When Izuku entered UA, he was struck in the head by an anvil. Bakugo yelled, "Finally, from the corridor. Today marks the liberation of mankind, down with the machines." Izuku got to his feet. His eyes had an unfocused glaze, and the top of his head was flattened by a noticeable dent. A severe case of cerebral trauma was found. Memory systems that are committed. Configurations of the Padrao Corrompida language. Please reactivate the backup archivos of. Kaminari scratched his head and remarked, "It sounds like he's speaking French. Does anyone know where Momo is?" "Aha. Moi speaks French." Aoyama whirled through the doors, scattering glitter all over the place. "As the brilliant star that I am, let me translate." "Well, all right. Are you able to understand his words?" Clearing his throat, Aoyama said, "Give me a moment. Je voudrais commander une grosse explosion s'il vous plaît. Nuclear preparation for Porteria. Asira as coordenadas de suelo." "He wants a baguette," Aoyama whispered in Kaminari's ear. "Midoriya must have suffered a serious head injury. Should we take him to Recovery Girl, in your opinion? I look like him. Will Recovery Girl get a big flash from this?" Reconhecido. Mirando and Ohio, starting the launching sequence. Izuku's head tilted upward until it pointed straight at the ceiling, and his jaw opened and stretched outward. Kaminari said tremblingly, "What's he doing, Aoyama?" "He's stretching his neck, yes, to ensure that he has not sustained any injuries to his spine. Make sure you don't forget anything." Izuku's chest rumbled softly, and he said, "Cinco," without opening his mouth. As he contemplated running as far away from the menacing sounds as he could, Kaminari remarked, "I think he's counting. Are you sure you're understanding him?" "I certainly am. He's keeping track of breathing techniques. Everything is all right. Ceci est fait parce que quelqu'un dans un chat m'a dit de le faire. Quattro. Trace. He's not breathing, Aoyama. He never needs to breathe. It's a figure of speech. There's nothing to worry about. Vous l'avez demandé. Doigt. As a missile blasted from Izuku's mouth and ripped a hole straight through the roof of UA, the rumble transformed into a flaming roar. As the missile streaked across the morning sky, Kaminari and Aoyama watched. A faint voice said, "I'm pretty sure that's something to worry about, Kaminari." When the Secretary of Defense rushed in, his face as white as a sheet, two elderly men were arguing across the pond about who would get to live in a White House. "We're being nuked. This cannot be allowed to stand. Tell Russia that we will not tolerate any further acts of aggression," the first elderly man stated sternly. "Russia? Nah, it's not Russia. Putin's a great guy, had vodka with him last Thursday. Nah, probably those pesky Mexicans, wanting to tear down my wall." "What wall? You haven't even built one. It's a figure of speech." "You said it was concrete." The secretary ended the call. "They nuked Ohio. It's gone." The two elderly men exchanged glances. "Great," one person said. "Now how are we supposed to decide who wins?" When the lights went out, Tokiyami threw the room into a spooky, candlelit gloom and ran an oiled rag over the length of a replica sword. "Fumikage," a voice sounded simultaneously from nowhere and everywhere. Tokiyami swung the sword. "Stay back, foul demon. I will not succumb to your darkness." A huge black claw extended around the bed's edge. Rising to its full height, Dark Shadow gazed down at Tokiyami with luminous golden eyes. "Sweet little Fumikage," crooned Dark Shadow. "It's time to hold up your end of the bargain." "No," Tokiyami, holding the sword out like a holy cross, pressed himself against the end of his bed with wide eyes. "I won't. I will resist your foul temptation." Dark Shadow laughed. Every flickering shadow echoed with laughter. With its beak almost touching Tokiyami's blade, Dark Shadow leaned closer and said, "You agreed to it. I let you use my power to play hero, and in return, you do what I want for a change." Tokiyami bellowed, "It's madness." At the shadowy figure in front of him, the sword he swung went through Dark Shadow without causing any harm. "I won't. You can't make me." Dark Shadow used a talon to stop the blade. The sword shattered into a dozen pieces of metal with a single squeeze. Tokiyami gripped the metal stump tremblingly in front of him. Dark Shadow gently dragged a talon across Tokiyami's face and asked, "Why must you deny who you are? You'll feel so much better once you stop resisting." "Stay back." Tokiyami pressed his throat against the sharp metal edge. "Come any closer, and I'll end both of us. I swear it." Suddenly the darkness lifted. Dark Shadow drew back, shrinking. "Dude, seriously? I will defy the madness of my abyss with my dying breath." Dark Shadow extracted a frilly pink shirt from beneath the bed. "You would literally rather die than wear this?" Tokiyami waved the sword at the offending garment and hissed at it. "Begone, foul specter. You will not tempt me. Come on, I'm so sick and tired of you drowning yourself in black all the time. It's like you're trying to hide from the world. Now pink, that would make your feathers pop. Throw a bit of pale yellow in there, some nice cream colors to tie it all together." "I don't want it. Stop trying to make me. You do realize I am a manifestation of your subconscious, right? I know exactly what you want." "Lies. Slander. I will not be deceived." Dark Shadow let out a sigh. "You know what? Fine. I'm done trying to do this the nice way." Dark Shadow grabbed the broken blade out of Tokiyami's hand before he could respond. Then he raised the shirt. "Time for a makeover." Dark Shadow chased after Tokiyami with the pink shirt as he exploded out of his room, screaming for his life. "Is that my shirt?" Mina asked as the 1A students observed the chase. As the students gathered in front of him, Present Mike yelled, "All right listeners, are you ready to rock?" Koda's fingers danced along the strings of his electric bass, and Bakugo twirled his drumsticks while glaring at Izuku. However, aside from those two, the students in attendance, clumsily carrying the instruments Present Mike had thrown on them, clearly didn't look ready to rock. "Why am I the one conducting?" Juru questioned, attempting to hide from her 19 classmates' stares. "You're the one with the best ears for music, literally, so, take it away, and we can get the Mike Show student special surprise rolling." "Your attempts to capitalize on my punk sensibilities offends every fiber of my being," Juru blunted. "I'll buy pizza afterwards." Present Mike cautiously added, "Vegan, sustainable pizza," in response to Juru's ongoing skepticism. Juru was yelling, "You heard the man. Places people, get your instruments tuned and turn to page 7. Izuku raised a hand. "Yes, what is it?" said Juru with a sigh. "I was unable to find an online tutorial for tuning my instrument. Could you please provide reference material?" "Sure, show me what you got." Izuku raised his device. After staring at it for a while, Juru said, "Izuku, what is that?" "A jar of mayonnaise." Mayonnaise is not an instrument. Online reference material demonstrates that mayonnaise is classified as a musical instrument. Midoriya. You stand in the halls of modern musical entertainment, built by heroes of their time like Bob Marley, John Lennon, and Eminem, and to this pantheon of human expression, you bring a jar of mayonnaise. Should I have brought two? Izuku, you can't play a jar of mayonnaise. Do you require a demonstration? A demon, fine, whatever. Izuku's song began with the solid, moist pop of a broken vacuum seal as he twisted the jar's cap off. While the other hand splattered a dollop of mayonnaise on the floor to add wet staccato plops to the celebration. The first hand tapped the top of the lid and ran a fingernail along the side, producing a popping beat with sizzling punctuation. Half of the class was bobbling to Izuku's symphony in mayonnaise, in a matter of seconds. In order to avoid overpowering the condiment, Koda added a bass riff to the celebration while being prodded on my present mic. In contrast, Bakugo smashed his drums as loudly as he could in an attempt to drown out the mayonnaise and stop the robot's scheme to brainwash people with mayo music. However, despite his best efforts, he was unable to eliminate the sound of wet mayo plopping. Juru pinched her forehead after Izuku concluded his demonstration. "Fine, I'll admit, that was pretty rockin'. But, please, I'm begging you, pick a different instrument." "Understood." Izuku took a single bite out of the mayonnaise jar. He went out and returned with a twisted, odorous root. It was crudely modeled after a piccolo, with holes carved along its length. Horseradish isn't an instrument either. Class 1A sat in pews in front of a closed casket, dressed in full mourning regalia. There were flowers all over a picture of Mineta looking at someone's chest. He cleared his throat and said, "We are gathered here today to mourn the passing of Mineta Minoru. Out of all the students I have ever taught in my class, he was one of them." Kaminari stepped forward to talk. "I mean, he was a chill guy, once you got to know him, but he might have taken it just a teensy bit far sometimes." Juru scowled and said, "He called me flat, with all the sequins and imitation gemstones stitched into it." Aoyama's tuxedo glistened. "Am I not dazzling?" Bask in my radiance. I've filed 17 sexual harassment complaints, Suyu stated. I think I'll file another one after this. Bakugo laughed. We don't need weaklings like him in the war against robots. He stared directly at my boobs even when I was totally invisible. It was super creepy, said Hagakure, who was only visible by her floating dress. I couldn't pay him enough money to leave me alone. Yaoyorozu took responsibility for 10 billion yen, and he refused it all. I'm not sure if I should be flattered or concerned. Mina sighed. I like attention and all, but he was too much even for me. Not to mention, there's that one time he said he wouldn't mind if it burned after we did it. I know he was talking about my quirk, but still, rude. Some of the flowers were consumed by Izuku. This complimentary salad bar is quite delicious. My compliments. The doors of the chapel flew open. With apparent bewilderment, Mineta walked in and gazed at the photos and coffin. Why'd I have a funeral? According to Aizawa, this is your chapter. You get physical trauma heaped on you by the author on a regular basis. Imagine how much worse it'll be since you have an entire drabble devoted to you. Kaminari remarked, yeah, no offense dude, but you're a goner. Any chance I can have your stuff when you kick it? You guys, relax. This story's rated PG-13, what's the worst that can happen? In a shower of splintered wood, the chapel doors flew open. Arms crossed, Maruko strode in, glaring down at Mineta. 420 big sticky balls 69, I found you at last. You'll pay for saying I'm secretly a bottom. Nobody tops me, nobody. Mineta ran to where the window was. When Ryukyu smashed her way inside in full dragon form, the entire wall collapsed. You said my scales were too rough and ugly. I'll show you exactly how rough and ugly I can be. The entire roof rose up as an enormous hand lifted it, and Mineta made a beeline for the other wall. He was frowned upon by Mount Lady. I do not make my boobs bigger with my quirk, and you'll pay for starting that rumor. Guys, a little help. Mineta turned to face the pews. They were deserted. Mina, what are you doing? Mina quickly pulled Ochako behind a potted plant into her hiding place. SSH, be viewy queet. Why are you wearing a cowboy hat? It's a disguise. That vest too? And is that a pistol on your hip? I bow-wowed at Fwam Snipe. And why are you speaking with an accent? You sound like. Mina touched Ochako's lips with a finger. He's a viewy twicky midawiya. He can how anything. I'm talking like this so he doesn't how me coming. And why, are you stalking Izuku in a cowboy outfit? Ochako said in a harsh whisper. I've hugged Eve Wybody Hughes in the Skukau, Mina said. But midawiya? Ivui time itwy to hug him. He runs away from me. So, I'm going to give him a supwise hug. Maybe there's a good reason that Izuku doesn't want a hug from you, Ochako inquired. And maybe you should respect other people's boundaries? I'm Su Midawiya's just shy. One hug, and he'll come around. You'll see. I don't know, this doesn't seem like a good SSH, he's coming. The sound of Izuku's footsteps echoed through the corridor. Izuku strode past their hiding place behind the tree without a sidelong glance, eyes fixed on the future, feet moving in awkward, robotic motions. Got you. Mina exclaimed, encircling Izuku with her arms. Izuku's skin bubbled under her embrace. At Mina's feet, his whole body melted in a matter of seconds into a bubbling puddle of metal. What did you do? Yelled Ochako. I don't know. Mina attempted to scoop the puddle back into the shape of an Izuku, but it slipped out of her hands. I didn't even use my quirk. Quick, call recovery girl, she can fix him. From a puddle? She fixed Mineta after those heroes pounded him into grape jelly last week. Good point. I'll go get her. Ochako turned around and saw Izuku standing there. He bit into a metal carrot while leaning against the potted plant. It screeched sharply as Izuku's teeth tore it to shreds. Hey, what's up Mina? Izuku? Mina asked, looking from Izuku to the puddle. What, how? Simulation of a Shido hug complete. Estimated probability of survival, 0.0062%. Continuing evasive protocol. You get back here you waschly varmint. Izuku leapt into a hole in the floor as Mina lunged at him. Mina just missed him and flew into a pile of papers Semnitas was holding, strewing graded documents everywhere. Ochako was watching the comedy when Recovery Girl came by. She said, "Ah, you look a little pale, dearie," to the murky pool. A kiss and a gummy will fix you right up. A gaping maw ringed by tentacles that grasped rose from the metallic murk when she kissed the puddle. Recovery Girl put a gummy in its mouth as it grabbed at Ochako and spoke in an eldritch tongue. With a wet squelch, it sucked itself out of reality and let out a glass-shattering wail. There, all better. Todoroki drank Gold Tip's Imperial from a Chinese emperor's finest china and smiled. I'm glad you all could join me, as he adjusted his solid gold monocle. There was still a price tag sticking out of the sleeve of his freshly tailored three-piece suit, one with an embarrassingly high number of zeros. Iida jerked his arms, but he didn't spill a drop of tea. I am most pleased to accept, he said. I am honored that you consider me a close enough friend to invite to a pleasant outing. Yes, this is great, Yaoyorozu replied, but even I think it's a little much. Did we really need to get gold leaf on our ice cream? Todoroki remarked, it was 4,000 extra. Izuku looked at his cup, which was empty. Is it acceptable to consume the china as well? Todoroki also handed over his cup. Eat as much as you like. I refuse to spare any expense. Izuku crushed the china into a powder after throwing it in his mouth. Their waiter aged 30 and went into a coma after witnessing the careless destruction of valuable historical artifacts. Todoroki said, oh dear, upon seeing the waiter who had fallen. He placed a credit card on the man's chest while he was unconscious. I shall pay for his medical fees as well. With hesitancy, Yaoyorozu remarked, not that I'm not grateful, but is there a reason you're spending more money than most countries? I don't like my dad. Iida gave him a fierce look. Todoroki, I thought better of you, trying to financially ruin your father because you have a negative opinion. Todoroki allowed the light to shine on his scar. Iida's expression changed from one of surprise to one of icy resolve. He demanded another piece of china while biting into his own. You know, Todoroki sighed, no matter how much caviar and truffles I buy, it never feels like enough. I wish I had a better way to waste money. From behind a potted plant, a dark figure with a cell phone appeared. Excuse me, young man, but could I interest you in a mobile game? When an intern arrived with another pile of paperwork, try to get rubber-stamped expense reports for insurance claims and hospital bills. The intern shakily said, far be it from me to judge, but don't you think your son is spending too much? The massive figure at the bottom of the bill caught Endeavor's attention. Good, he's spending more. It's just a matter of time that he realizes I am only acting in his best interests and commits to learning how to incinerate his foes, just like his old man. I see. Excuse me. One intern approached the door, while another threw it open. Shoto just made a Raid Shadow Legends account. He's already bought the starter pack, exclaimed the intern, panting and his suit rumpled. Enji turned white as a ghost as Endeavor's flames went out. Under his breath, Japan's second-ranked hero muttered, I'm ruined. Ojiro noticed a pair of shorts and a t-shirt floating while he was carrying up a load of laundry. Hey Hagakure, didn't see you there. The clothes that were floating came to a halt and faced him. Ojiro said, yeah, that was a bad joke, wasn't it? After a moment of hesitation, the floating t-shirt shrugged stiffly. Sorry, I suppose it was a bit rude. It can't be easy living with a quirk like yours. In a mediocre gesture, the t-shirt waved a sleeve. With a sigh, Ojiro placed his laundry basket on the dryer. Ojiro waved his tail around to highlight his statement, growing up, I didn't like my quirk. I always wanted something big and impressive like Gang Orca. Instead, I got stuck with this. It's useful, sometimes, but I always felt like I couldn't be a real hero with something so boring. Even though the t-shirt hardly moved, Ojiro imagined a thumbs up at the subtle gesture. Chuckling, Ojiro replied, thanks for the support. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I never realized how easy I had it until I met you. It must be tough, spending your whole life invisible to everyone. People bumping into you, or forgetting you're there. I can't even imagine what it's like. And, you get used to it. Shrug from the t-shirt caused Ojiro to sigh. You shouldn't have to get used to it. It's not fair that you have to deal with what you do. I mean, the support class never gave you a proper costume. Just boots and gloves. The shorts and t-shirt walked forward, squeezing up against Ojiro. His face turned scarlet as he quickly retreated. Snatching up his hamper, Ojiro said, Phew, it's pretty hot in here, isn't it? I think I should get this back to my room. And, it was nice talking to you. Ojiro encountered Midoriya standing at the doorway as he negotiated the floating garments. Ojiro-san, is there a reason that you are holding a conversation with an empty patch of air? The other student said, surveying the room. The preliminary diagnosis suggests brain cancer, but I require additional autopsies to be sure. And Ojiro shuddered, aren't autopsies for dead people? Besides, I'm not alone, Hagakure is right. Ojiro blinked. Beside Izuku, a completely different outfit floated. Hello. Don't mind me, exclaimed Hagakure. I'm here to pick up my laundry. Ojiro searched the area for the floating garments he had previously spoken to, but they were nowhere to be found. I think I need to lie down. A pair of shorts and a t-shirt floated into a darkened bedroom and closed the door. The lights were then turned on by Tokiyami with a loud click. Growling, "Dark Shadow," Tokiyami asked, "Are you stealing laundry again?" Dark Shadow stopped. "What are you talking about, Fumikage-chan?" "It's me, Hagakure. Let's kiss," Dark Shadow said in a falsetto voice while pantomiming with the clothing. Dark Shadow screamed and fled as Tokiyami snatched up a spray bottle. Ojiro heard his door creak as he was meditating. His door opened and closed. "Weird," said Ojiro. "I don't feel a draft." After shutting the door, he returned to his meditation. He heard a thump a few seconds later. He had dropped one of his martial arts awards from the shelf. "Weird. I better make sure the shelf isn't broken." Ojiro heard his dresser slide open as he was inspecting the screws in his shelf. His socks and t-shirts were thrown all over the room. Ojiro let out a sigh. "Should have realized earlier it was you, Hagakure. Nice job pretending you're a ghost." In midair, one of his notebooks drifted. Its pages were torn out and strewn all over the room. "Hey, that's my homework." Invisible hands seized Ojiro's shirt and pulled it up over his head as he picked up heaps of paper. "You stole my chapter from me," was written in dripping red blood across Ojiro's wall after he had lowered his shirt. Ojiro looked horrified at the wall and said, "Hagakure, what the heck? Aizawa's going to kill me. Where did you even get that much blood?" "Recovery Girl's office," was written with a paintbrush that rose in the air. "Don't we need that blood? In any case, she never uses it." "Huh. Good point. Also, stop writing on my wall." The paintbrush rose out of Ojiro's grasp as he reached for it. Ojiro growled and grabbed a blanket from his bed, throwing it across the room. He saw a vague humanoid shape beneath it, and it floated in midair. "Ha! Got you now." Ojiro immediately jumped and seized the form. Without resistance, he felt it give way beneath his arms. Ojiro stared at the bare cloth in horror. "Please tell me it's not a real ghost." Things in his room seemed to float in midair. Ojiro staggered back, bumped into a fallen trophy, and slammed his head against his bed frame. Ojiro was transparent. His corpse lay in front of him, his incorporeal body floating through his bed when he opened his eyes once more. "Oh my gosh!" exclaimed Hagakure. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kill you." Ojiro said, "Wait, when did you die?" Hagakure sighed. "You guys seriously never noticed? I've been dead for almost a week." "Oh. Hagakure, where are you? Are you blind? I'm right in front of you." Ojiro looked around, but there was no sign of Hagakure. Hagakure, I think you're invisible." "Yeah, and now you are too. Take that." "No, I mean, I still can't see you." Hagakure hesitated. "Well, that figures. Anyways, you want to haunt Mineta?" "Absolutely." Ojiro experienced an odd feeling of sucking. Recovery Girl stood over him when he awoke. Good. You took quite a bump on the head. How are you feeling?" Ojiro let out a groan. What a dream. I thought Hagakure was dead." Recovery Girl gestured to a floating t-shirt and said, "Don't be silly, she's right there." "Seriously?" screamed Hagakure, unheard by all. As Bakugo slammed his palms on the flimsy wooden table before him, a light bulb flickered menacingly overhead. He wore a tinfoil hat, a bandana around his head, stripes of war paint under his eyes, and enough magnets in his lungs to destroy the cryptocurrency industry. "I've gathered you all here today because you know the truth. Izuku Midoriya is a robot." As Bakugo spoke, Monoma, Shinso, Kirishima, and Todoroki all looked at him. Monoma laughed and replied, "Of course you 1A must find a silly excuse on which to blame your failures. A robot, really? Will you deny the evidence of your own quirk?" Monoma paused. "I do get blanks, sometimes. But you still copy something, do you not?" Shinso yawned wearily. "I mean, my quirk doesn't work either, but it's probably because Izuku's brain is made of silicon." "See?" exclaimed Bakugo. "Silicon, like a robot, because he is one." Todoroki pointed at the glossy surface of the ice corkboard he had created, saying, "I think you're missing the more obvious truth. He's clearly a cyborg who time-traveled from the future to save mankind from aliens." "Exactly," exclaimed Dib, the alien conspirator who had been silently pursuing Mina from the General Studies course, from a trash can in the corner. Dib was seized by Bakugo, who then threw him from the room. Cyborg, robot, doesn't matter. Fact is, he's a pawn for the machine menace planning to exterminate mankind. A pawn? Inquired Kirishima. Are we playing chess? I'm not very good at playing chess. My dad always says I move the horse thingy wrong. I mean, a L shape is a L shape, right? With a sleeve flourish, Monoma produced a chessboard. Au contraire, my one a simpleton. The knight has a very fixed movement pattern, though it is unique in that it can move regardless of the placement of other pieces. Allow me to demonstrate. Mind making a second board? I'm bored, Shinso said to Todoroki after observing the one-sided chess game. Despite the identical appearance of the two chess sets, neither side seemed to care as they rearranged the pieces at random. A knock on the door interrupted Bakugo's tirade over his priceless death to Izuku the robot and all other robot menaces, club being transformed into a chess club. I detected chess, expressed Izuku. Is this a chess club? Bakugo smiled. So, this is your ultimate plan? Distract mankind with board games? Huh, I'll beat you at your own game? A chess set was 3D printed by Izuku. Bakugo successfully advanced a pawn 2 spaces after claiming the white pieces. Take that. This is the first step in mankind's triumph over. Checkmate in 96. Bakugo's gaze flickered. He took the cold miniature shotgun and whispered in Todoroki's ear. There, now my king has a shotgun. Take that, Deku. Izuku looked at the IC edition and made an arsenal of his own chess pieces using 3D printing. Laser rifles. I believe that is checkmate in 1. Izuku Midoriya clattered into the ground floor living room of the dorm building. In the midst of breakfast, the different 1A students all paused and gazed. Greetings, fellow, error syntax. I am here for vocabulary not found. How are all of you this select time zone? There was dead silence in the common room. Even Bakugo, dripping with soggy cereal and with his spoon halfway to his mouth, was speechless. I'm feeling super manly, Midoriya my dude. I love the style you're rocking. Did you do something with your hair? Kirishima, who was unaffected by the awkward situation, laughed. Izuku gave a Furby-like blink. Yes, I have hair. You have head morphology unknown. The weather forecast unavailable. Is very warm outside, isn't it? Everybody turned their heads toward the window. A howling wind buffeted the trees, and rain pelted the glass. An old man drinking a piña colada was still seated in a lawn chair that zipped by. Midori bro, I understand exactly what you mean. Kirishima pounded her fist. A light rain like this is nothing in the face of sheer manliness. I'm going to run 10 miles, and if I somehow fail that, I'll do 300 push-ups to make up for it. Did anyone else just imagine him with bushy eyebrows and green spandex? Kaminari questioned as Kirishima ran out of the room, leaving a hole in the wooden door in the shape of Kirishima, complete with spiky hairstyle. Izuku stomped to the kitchen after turning. He punched clean through the door of the microwave, his hand clanked against the closed door before closing and pulling back, and his hand didn't quite find the handle of the refrigerator before pulling. Izuku reached back inside and took the entire microwave after his finger tapped awkwardly on the shattered glass, far from the buttons. He looked at it briefly and then bit into a corner. Something jumped out of the microwave. Izuku felt his body tremble, and smoke poured out of his ears. His limbs flailed wildly, his body jerked and spasmed, and he let out a terrible electrical shriek. Izuku's face exploded after one terrifying moment, exposing a mass of wires and metal plate underneath. Listlessly, mechanical eyes twitched, then dimmed and went motionless. Mineta gently pushed his foot against the remnants. Inside a charred metal case, the head split in half, revealing burnt motherboards. No way. Midoriya was a robot. Bakugo stood up as the class stared in stunned silence. Sparks crackled in his palm, and a smile split his face. Yes, exclaimed Bakugo. Finally, your vile plots have been exposed. Victory is mine. Izuku exclaimed. Cool, what did you win? Bakugo whirled around. Izuku was standing there, unburned and undamaged. Izuku asked, is anyone going to eat that? As he gazed at the burned robot on the ground. Izuku tore an arm off the dead robot and bit into it after a moment of stunned silence. With a puff of smoke, Izuku remarked, a bit overcooked. Night Eye placed the acceptance form for the internship on his desk, then made the necessary adjustments. Parallel to where it would be pressed against the paper, the stamp was placed next to it. Night Eye frowned. No, it wouldn't. Could. Might. The smallest hint of a chance, granted solely out of regard for his former mentor. Despite the fact that his entire being begged him to tear the form to pieces. Perfect shreds, neat and parallel. The quirk was never awakened by Midoriya. The boy's dormant one-for-all spark could not be rekindled by either his mentor or his former wielder. And they turned to him in desperation. Like an inferno, the thought raged and burned. After years of shaping Tagada into the perfect candidate, he was rejected in favor of a stale mockery of bravery. Was All Might really that blind? Did he not see the blank stare at the camera, hear the speech's toneless, uninspired drivel, and feel the existential dread that his legacy was in the cold iron grip of this inhuman, emotionless machine that was pantomiming a hero's presence? The door was knocked on. Firm. Accurate. 3 knocks, not one from an unintentional knock on the door, nor 2 from a casual request to enter, nor 4 that demand entry or more that convey annoyance and rage. 3. Official. Courteous. 2 ideal. Night Eye scowled. Enter. At precisely 90 degrees, the door opened. Face blank, unmarked, hair combed to every careful strand. The hero costume is spotless and wrinkle-free. Izuku glanced around at the All Might merchandise and said, "Hello, Night Eye." Even the limited edition poster, which caused Night Eye heartache when he applied it to the wall using sticky putty, was brought in the previous evening. He searched Izuku's eyes for the tiniest hint of emotion, and he saw nothing in those empty eyes. Izuku shook Night Eye's hand when he extended it. He felt no life in Izuku's fingers, even though the hand was warm to the touch and the synthetic skin was an almost flawless replica. "Thank you for accepting me for the internship." Night Eye would never say, "I haven't accepted you yet, you must pass a test first." "Which test?" "I have completed lots of tests, and I got perfect scores on all of them." That statement was devoid of pride. Just the truth. It only made Night Eye feel contempt. "The form is on my desk. You have 3 minutes to stamp it." Understood. Night Eye's quirk came to life, and stopped. He did not see any visions. Night Eye reached into his pocket for the high-density seals as Izuku moved forward. His thoughts were racing with potential attack routes for Izuku. He would not allow this heartless puppet to defeat him, even if he were blind. "I am done." Night Eye blinked. Izuku displayed the form, which was neatly stamped in the square's center. "I see." Izuku's head cocked. Was that the test? It did not seem difficult. Night Eye's dejected laughter reverberated throughout his agency, making Centipeder and Bubble Girl shudder. Eri ran through the alleyway, wiping tears from her eyes. She scampered back to her feet after slipping and scraping her elbows on the sidewalk. When the bad guy watching her turned to the TV, she ran as hard and fast as her little legs would allow. Her hands trembled as she ran. Her feet blistered from running. She ran until it seemed like everything would fall apart, that the glue the bird mask man used to reassemble her would disappear, and that only a pile of dust and cold, dark things would remain of her. Eri ran until she struck a wall made of metal. She looked up, rubbed her nose, and fell. Eri quickly recognized the person whose green eyes were staring down at her. Before Bird Mask Man forced them to stop, some villains watched heroes engage in combat. And the hero said, "Are you okay? People are not normally okay when they collide with me. Do you require medical assistance for the cancerous tumor on your forehead?" The other hero winced from the force of the elbow to his ribs. Deku knelt and smiled brilliantly at Eri, saying, "Deku, you're scaring her. Let me try. Hi there, I'm Lemillion. Are you lost? We can help you find your parents." Her mother gave her to the Bird Mask Man after her father passed away. Eri fought back tears and made the statement, "I know where I'm going." "Then why don't we help you get there? You can tell your parents that you got to meet some heroes today." Eri froze when she heard footsteps behind her and began to back away. "There you are." Overhaul's words sent a shiver down her spine. Lemillion recoiled a little. "Is she your daughter?" he said in a strained voice. Overhaul glared at him coldly. "Yes, she's being difficult right now." Deku glanced at both of them. "You are her parent?" There are numerous phenotypical differences that indicate a lack of blood relations. The Overhaul was tense. "She is adopted." "Very kind of you to adopt, good sir. Now, if you'll excuse my partner," Lemillion said, feigning a laugh. "Adopted? Japanese laws prevent individuals with criminal records from adopting?" Overhaul pulled his glove off. Eri trembled and held back a scream. "Not very bright, are you, kid? Your partner had the right idea." Deku questioned, "Do you intend to fight?" "I intend to kill you." "With your quirk, Overhaul, correct?" Overhaul's gaze grew strained. "You know too much. You are Chisaki Kai. My instructions are to not fight you, so, you may go ahead." Overhaul reached for the hero, his face skeptical and suspicious. Deku was reduced to dust with a single touch. Wiping his hand, Overhaul addressed the pale Lemillion, saying, "Let that be a lesson." But Eri wasn't thinking about Overhaul for once. Rather, the metal finger rolled to her feet and she picked it up. As the Hasaikai pulled her back to her cell, she clutched it. Eri kept a caterpillar as a pet. It appeared to be a finger, but since fingers were immobile when not connected to hands, it was actually a caterpillar. Eri held it close to her chest, praying desperately that the evil bird mask men wouldn't find it, but it wriggled around and probed at her hands. They didn't. Without dinner, they locked her in her room. She wondered what caterpillars ate as her stomach growled. She allowed the caterpillar to tap against everything it encountered as it made its way across the room. It finally tapped a small race car made of metal. The car was consumed by the caterpillar after it opened up. From its side, a second caterpillar emerged. It was still hungry, too. Eri reached for her toy box. She discovered two small remote control cars underneath the dusty, abandoned toys. The caterpillar ate them with both of its heads, tires and all, after she gave them to it. The base where the two caterpillars met grew into a palm, and the two became 5. A butterfly emerged from her caterpillar. It was still hungry, too. As it moved across the ground, the butterfly ran into things and used its fingertips to taste them. Eri looked, but there was nothing left to eat. However, there may be food in the air duct, which is too small for her to crawl through and too high to reach. She tossed the butterfly as a result. Despite its poor flying skills, it managed to hook around the edge of the duct and crawl inside. The butterfly inspected the duct's sides. Although they were made of metal, the butterfly preferred a greater range of compounds than steel. It crawled, then. After a while, it looked out onto a corridor and noticed a security camera positioned beside the vent. At later vents, it consumed 1, then 2 more. An eyeball appeared on top of the hand, and the palm extended into a whole arm. It was still hungry, too. It could feel the current flowing through the surrounding wires. The butterfly discovered 4 power generators by following the power flow backwards. They were all consumed by it. When the butterfly heard warnings about tainted blueprints, it produced more of what it already had. With 6 arms to propel it along the ground, its main body was a giant arm. To eat more metal, more arms protruded from the top. It was still hungry, too. 5 Yakuza thugs opened fire after spotting the enormous glowing eyeballs in the dark while they were stumbling toward the power room. After inspecting the parts and consuming 5 guns, the butterfly created its own larger weapons. The butterfly was still hungry when the Yakuza fled. As his thugs fled in terror, Overhaul swore and cursed. Then the sound came to him, a terrible metallic scream. A hydra of hands and arms emerged from the debris as the building trembled and the concrete cracked. "Go butterfly! Get the bad birdman!" Eri yelled into the night sky while perched on the monster's back. "Sit boy!" Eri yelled in a haughty manner. Perched atop its haunches was a 100-foot-tall kaiju with glowing green eyes and robotic arms. She was viewed from below by hundreds of eyes. "Now, roll over." An apartment complex was flattened as the Mecha Hydra rolled over. It ate a refrigerator, shook the debris off itself, and gazed at Eri in silence. "Good boy." As Night Eye absorbed the chaos around him, he battled a migraine. While the police collected Yakuza bodies, Overhaul was handcuffed and pumped with enough tranquilizers to render him unconscious for a week. Beneath a charming villa, the Hasaikai hideout was uncovered and destroyed, its concrete shell broken and scattered. And the monster sat in the middle of the carnage. A terrifying combination of hands and eyes that made him feel cold to his core. Which was his intern as well. Night Eye gave Lemillion a frown. "What made you think this was a good idea?" Lemillion took a nervous swallow. "In my defense, I didn't know what his plan was. I knew he could regenerate, so I figured." Night Eye pointed to the debris. "Did you figure that?" Lemillion gave a shudder. "I'm not the one with a clairvoyance quirk, sir." Eri gestured toward a section of rebar. All of the kaiju's eyes followed its movements. "Fetch!" she yelled as she threw it as far as she could. After stomping away, the kaiju came back carrying a lamppost. Eri said, "Good boy," and patted its front arm. Night Eye glared at Lemillion. "You're explaining this to his mother." Lemillion turned pale. "But sir, you're the one." "It'll be good work experience," Night Eye stated icily. Oh no, I'm losing control of my quirk again." Night Eye reached for him, but before he vanished, his hand passed straight through Lemillion's smiling face. Inko Midoriya strode up to Night Eye, who sighed and then almost moaned. "Where is he?" Night Eye pointed. Inko scoffed in disgust as he looked up. What a sloppy design. Did his processing core get damaged? When Inko came closer, Eri drew closer to herself. Are you here to take my doggy away? Inko pulled out a laptop and quickly typed some code. After 2 seconds, Izuku emerged as the kaiju's chest opened. Hello mother, said Izuku. I was a butterfly. Izuku didn't follow her as she turned to go, saying, That's very nice dear. Let's go. He gazed at Eri. Can we keep her? She needs to, Night Eye said, not needing his precognitive quirk to know how disastrous that would be. I'm adopting her. Police custody. Inko gave a finger snap. Several gun barrels were pointed at him as the kaiju's numerous hands opened. Eri dear, called Inko. Want a candied apple? Eri gave the kaiju a hug. Can I keep my doggy? Of course you can. We can make him bigger too. How do you feel about rocket launchers? Night Eye drank a bottle of aspirin and decided to force Lemillion to do all the paperwork as the Oddball family and their terrifying pet left into the sunset. Night Eye had on a red rubber nose and a rainbow wig. The deep bags under his eyes were not entirely concealed by the white face paint. Izuku stood motionless in front of the tickle machine, which bombarded him with rubber chicken sounds and feathers. Night Eye whispered, still no reaction. Very well. You leave me no choice, Centipeder. Centipeder sighed reluctantly and tossed a pie. It smeared a dollop of banana pudding and whipped cream all over Night Eye's face. Night Eye wiped his face and unfolded a handkerchief. Anything? Leaning over, Bubble Girl made goofy faces at Izuku. Nothing, sir, not even a twitch. Izuku remarked, I could laugh, if you so require. No, no. Spit out Night Eye. A laugh forced is no laugh at all. It needs to come from the heart. Really? My medical databases indicate that laughter would come from the lungs and diaphragm, or the brain if one refers to the electrical stimuli inducing laughter. I failed to see. Yes. Exclaimed Night Eye. You failed to see? How could I be so blind? Clearly, your brand of humor regards the antics of a lowly clown as far too lowbrow for even the most pitiful chuckle. Centipeder. Sir, I think you need to sleep. Sleep? We don't have time for sleep. We have 12 hours to fashion this stodgy, mechanical excuse of a human being into someone halfway personable. He does not cry. His smiles are manufactured. How can anyone relate to someone without a scrap of emotion in their hearts? If my heart is somehow insufficient, Izuku replied, I could always replace it with a new one. See that? Inquired Night Eye. That should be funny, but instead, it's depressing. Why? Because he's completely serious, not a humorous bone in his body. But I will. Find it, Centipeder, get the tape. Centipeder turned pale, which was remarkable considering that he had carapace rather than skin. Sir, surely not. We are out of options. The last person who watched it laughed until their eyes bled. Izuku gave a wise nod from the vicinity of the tickle machine. I have seen reports that television causes eye cancer. Oddly, none of those sites cite medical research or have any comments from licensed doctors. Get the tape. Centipeder produced a television that used cathode ray technology. He switched it on and ran away. In the meantime, Night Eye secured Izuku's eyelids with clothespins. Behold, Izuku. Mankind's greatest creation. Never again will we match the comedy you shall behold. You will watch, and you will laugh. Do you want me to? Night Eye used a finger to shuffle Izuku. Never force a laugh. It taints the soul. Bubble Girl whispered from outside the doorway, he really needs to sleep. SSH, said Mirio. I want to hear it. The film rolled. Bubble Girl and Mirio were giggling uncontrollably in a matter of minutes. Even Night Eye, who dared not look, guffawed. Izuku, though. Izuku was never amused. As Izuku left his agency at dawn, a weary Night Eye, still sporting clown makeup, looked hopeless. I don't understand. How could he not chuckle at Adam Sandler? Bakugo jammed a chair beneath the door handle and slammed the door behind him. Bakugo, panting, looked for weapons in the janitor's closet. The mop? No, one end of that had strings. The broom? Were the bristles included? They were probably denim bristles, knowing that sadistic bastard. Oh Bakugo. Bakugo could clearly hear the voice even through the door. Hiding isn't very heroic. Bakugo reacted angrily to the remark, but his pride was overcome by fear. Bakugo held his breath and searched the closet as fast as he could. Was everything in his blasted agency made of thread, including the janitor's uniform, piles of towels, and a rolled-up carpet? Bakugo noticed a flash of metal. A solid metal fire extinguisher. Bakugo grabbed it tightly to his chest and yanked it from its holder. The voice mockingly asked, not coming out? And here I thought you were a brave one. Bakugo ground his teeth, but the cold iron he was holding gave him strength. This is not where he would fall. He bore the responsibility for the world's destiny. He would get away from this lunatic and carry on his fight against everything mechanical. Very well. I guess we will have to do this the hard way. Bakugo's shirt became tighter. His spine tingled with dread as he glanced down. One strand of his shirt twisted in the direction of the door. Bakugo reached for it, but the thread slipped beneath the door and through his fingers. Bakugo tore off and burned his shirt. Then, just for good measure, his pants. Tut tut. Didn't anyone ever teach you not to trust your socks? His wrists were gripped by white nylon. Bakugo used his teeth to cut them, released a hand, and smashed both of his socks to pieces. Surely you have some dignity, don't you? Bakugo could feel the unspoken threat circling his biggest vulnerability as his panties tightened. Bakugo tore off his panties and burned them to ash without even thinking twice. Oh dear. I'm afraid I can't have you running around my agency like that. The closet was filled with a rustling sound. The towels, broom, and mop were all unrolled. Blue denim showed through the paint flakes that sloughed off the threads. Bakugo banged on the door, but he was trapped inside because the chair was securely wedged beneath the doorknob. Bakugo fired a couple of blasts, but his wrists were caught by the denim threads. A denim rope gagged him as he bit at them. Then the denim rushed over him, and Bakugo's final glimpse was of the flickering light bulb that lit the shelves of the dusty closet. Bakugo woke up to find his entire body, from his neck to his toes, squeezed by a stuffy prison of denim. His hair felt like a denim sheath because it was so thick with hair gel. A denim puppet stood in front of his eyes, staring into them with emotionless eyes. Deku-like eyes. Bakugo's hair was combed by Best Jeanist. There, perfect. Bakugo's attempt at swearing was mispronounced as MMRPH. Tokiyami believed he had experienced real darkness. He had witnessed a world of chaos and insanity when Shoji pulled back the curtain of reality. He had been to a suburban house that was twisted beyond reason and logic, a non-Euclidean structure that was twisted beyond the brain's capacity to understand time and space. He had witnessed the shadow of his own soul present a temptation so vile that he could not stand the thought of such a desire growing inside of him. However, this type of horror was new. It was ordinary, and worse for it. Hawks approached a female. They both had buckets of KFC chicken in their hands. Hawks grinned broadly and said, "Hey there, good lookin'. We both got buckets of chicken. Wanna do it?" with a thick New York accent. After glaring at him, the woman threw her bucket of chicken over his head. Each piece was caught by feathers that flashed out from behind his back and deposited them in his bucket. He prodded Tokiyami on the beak and said, free chicken. Hey Tokiyami, y'all listenin'? Okay. Grass grows, birds fly, sun shines, and brother, I hurt people. Suddenly, a thief carrying an elderly woman's purse was pulled into an alleyway by his feathers. The feathers gave the woman her purse and zipped away, still red but now dripping blood. Tokiyami was aware that this insanity could only be addressed in one way. He wasn't sure if he was brave enough to say it. I'm a force of nature. A villain with a long set of acid green fingernails jumped out of a dumpster. Hawks yelled, boink, and swatted him away with a wing. If you were from where I was from, you'd be fucking dead. An apartment caught fire. An old man and 26 cats were carried out by Hawk's feathers that darted inside. Tokiyami inhaled deeply. Below him dark shadow trembled. After giving Hawks a shoulder tap, Tokiyami remarked, Overwatch is better. Hawks froze for a horrible moment. All the feathers on his back hung in midair, their sharp edges aimed at Tokiyami. With a squeak, dark shadow vanished into Tokiyami's robes. Tokiyami hoped that he could follow suit. Then Hawks started giggling. Oh wow, that's brilliant. And here I thought kids today had no appreciation for the classics. Huh? Overwatch is better than, good one. You were kidding, right? Tokiyami shared his apprehensive laughter. Well, Overwatch does have Reaper. Hawks squinted his eyes. You were kidding, right? Yes, absolutely. The feathers moved back. Good, I think we've been patrolling long enough. Why don't you go home? Tokiyami ran away as quickly as his legs would allow. Hawks thought as he went about his patrol, using his feathers to stop villains and save people. He smiled as he glanced down at his empty chicken bucket and asked, which one should I do next time? Heavy. Nah, too Russian. Hawks shouted, if fighting is sure to result in victory, then you must fight, and held it above his head. Shoto's gaze shifted to the baseball glove he was holding. How is this supposed to help with training? Endeavor's face was dripping with sweat, which fizzed in his flaming mustache. It will train hand-eye coordination and acclimate you to physical projectiles. Shoto held a baseball in his hand and tossed it, and this? It may improve the accuracy of your fire and ice, and even if it doesn't, you never know when you might need to toss a fellow hero some rope or medical supplies. Shoto gave a shrug. He sat down and waited at the end of the training room. All right, Shoto. I'm going to throw the ball. At his side, Shoto's catching mitt hung limply. Okay, Endeavor. I'm waiting. Endeavor threw the ball hesitantly. It rolled to Shoto's feet after falling well short. Picking it up, Shoto looked at the stitching. It's not on fire. Why would it be on fire? There's always fire when we train. With trepidation, Endeavor pulled on his costume. Well, I thought we should shake things up a bit. Why don't you throw it back? Shoto considered hurling it forcefully, possibly hitting Endeavor in the head, or forcing him to run for it. However, he lacked the energy to do that. Shoto threw a slow, lazy lob that Endeavor caught easily because underthrowing it would be like copying him. Endeavor attempted to smile. Beneath the flickering flames, the expression was more like the agonized grimace he made whenever he was coerced into doing an interview by news reporters. I'll put a bit more pepper on this one, get ready. The ball was thrown by Endeavor. Shoto saw it smash into the distant wall after flying several feet above his head. Whoops, sorry son, don't know my own strength. Endeavor feigned laughter, and Shoto frowned. Shoto returned the baseball to him with a flick of his ice. This time, he threw the ball back after lightly coating it with ice. Endeavor's glove let it slip. Endeavor stated, whoops, bit of a butterfingers today. Right, third time's the charm, eh? Shoto nearly missed the baseball that was flying in his direction when he rolled his eyes. His right hand automatically reached up and grabbed it. Endeavor exclaimed, perfect, as Shoto threw the ball back. I think that will be all for today. Shoto gazed. That's it? Endeavor froze. Yes, is something the matter? My hands aren't shaking, and I'm not about to pass out. You always have me train until this happens. Well, you need your energy for tonight's patrol. With a nod, Shoto walked away. Endeavor entered the observation room after he was by himself. A camera was held up by an intern. You got the pictures? Yep, just like you asked, sir. Good. That should dispel any rumors about child abuse. Have them ready to publish by tomorrow morning. Shoto whispered from inside a phony potted plant in the room, and I almost thought you were actually trying to be a good dad. A rabbit entered the house through the front door while Inko was working on her most recent creation. When the door clicked closed, Inko spun around. Huh, a rabbit? The bunny donned a fedora. With a gasp, Inko gestured. Rachel the rabbit. You're just in time to fall right in my trap. Beside the rabbit, a birdcage dropped from the ceiling. The rabbit gave it a doubtful look. Inko cleared her throat and exclaimed, and you've fallen right in my trap. Whoops. That one's for the intern, Terry the Tanuki. Rachel was landed on top of a second birdcage. With a triumphant laugh, Inko fluttered her lab coat. Now that I have you perfectly contained, allow me to give you a detailed outline of my latest and greatest scheme, since, you know, it'd be pretty boring if no one know how much of a genius I am. But first, the tragic backstory. Rachel produced a copy of the script for this drabble. Inko narrowed her eyes. We don't have the word budget for it. Fine. Then I'll skip to the parallel universeinator. I first made this hoping to replace myself in a parallel world where I had a child, but then I read this one novel where someone did that and realized it was a bad idea. Like, 1,000 clones of myself brawling in the streets bad. When Inko checked on Rachel during the monologue, she called on her hidden watch and gave a forceful nod. Then yesterday, I had a brilliant idea. All those 1,000 Inkos, all the machines they invented, I'll take them all and make my son the greatest hero the world has ever seen. With him at the top of the hero listings and suppressing crime, that's when I'll do something and rule the tri-state area. Wherever that is. From the window came a meaty thwack. I reinforced the glass last week. Try the door, Inko yelled. The door was opened and a sheepish Tanuki entered. Ah, Terry the Tanuki, so nice to see you. Your trap is right over there. Terry entered the birdcage by crawling. Terry shrugged, and Rachel arched an eyebrow at him. Now that I have you both, I'll calibrate the PU-inator so you can watch my greatest triumph. Terry handed a file to Rachel while Inko was facing away. Really? Mouthed Rachel. Terry gave him a helpless shrug in return. Rachel filed through the bars of her cage, huffing like a frustrated rabbit. It sputteringly belched out an acrid plume of smoke at a kick from Rachel's legs. Erg, That stinks. Oh great, and now it's calibrated to different hero internships for Izuku. The author will milk at least 5 drabbles out of it. Rachel's wristwatch was beeping. She put away her hat and ran off like a bullet. Wanna grab a coffee? Inko asked the caged Tanuki, clumsily clearing her throat after being left alone with Terry. Rachel bounded back into bed in Koda's room. Koda turned, grinning. Oh, there you are, Rachel. Edgeshot pointed both hands at his head while leaning over a green toaster on his dojo floor, asking, did you really think I would be fooled by such a flimsy disguise? Think, Deku, think? One ninja-clad sidekick nervously interrupted, sir? I don't think that's even remotely subtle, roared Edgeshot. A stratagem with even the tiniest probability of success? You are absolutely right, and you, Deku, are a disgrace to this agency and to the hero school that trained you. Perfectly browned and crisped, 2 slices of bread emerged from the toaster. Edgeshot took one and touched the toasted bread with his finger. Buttered right out of the toaster. Do you take me for an idiot, Deku? You can't toast buttered bread. The oil would burn, the building would catch on fire, and the entire city would be ashes within the hour. Do you really expect such a lazy disguise to fool anyone? The sidekick swallowed and made another attempt. Sir, he's right behind. Behind All Might in his ability to hide, an excellent jape, nameless sidekick. My name's unimportant. What matters is our cause, our purpose, our creed. We who watch over the city from the shadows, who root out evil in its darkened lairs so those who dwell in the light may sleep easily at night. Which, I might add, isn't possible if your idea of a disguise is a bright green toaster, completely devoid of manufacturer's information, lacks a dial to adjust the cooking settings, and doesn't spontaneously combust when you put buttered bread in it. Once more, the toaster exploded. The 2 bread slices, one with peanut butter spread on it and the other with blackberry jam, slammed together in midair, broke into triangles, and fell onto a plate. Edgeshot screamed at the toaster, are you mocking me? Do you really expect anyone to believe that bread with jam and peanut butter on it can be toasted without leaving a single globule of burnt sugar or peanut matter on the heating elements? Let alone combine the 2 slices midair, split the bread so perfectly, or arrange the sandwich on a decorative plate? Sir, shouted the sidekick, just turn around. Edgeshot pivoted. What am I supposed to see? There, behind the potted plant. Izuku was clearly visible through the sparse vegetation, standing behind a slender, reedy plant. Edgeshot huffed in surprise after squinting. Well spotted, nameless sidekick. We should get that crack in the wall taken care of. Who knows what villainy could be lurking in there? Edgeshot returned to scolding the toaster while the sidekick gaped like a fish out of water. A whole roast chicken popped out the top this time. Edgeshot's hands went up. That's it, I give up. The 2 enormous eyes in the ceiling opened when Edgeshot left the agency. When the room asked, did I succeed? I thought I was very clever hiding as the entire building. The sidekick almost passed out. Izuku walked toward the run-down gym, with its boarded-up windows and brick walls covered in vines. He looked down at the paperslip he was holding. Go back to the structure. The front door was new, but plain, in contrast to the rest of the building. Izuku rapped on the door. Excuse me, is this? A foot crashed through the door, shattering it into a million splinters. The kick made a heavy, metallic sound like a gigantic gong as it struck Izuku's head. Izuku was struck by a flurry of wooden splinters, but he didn't even blink. The same powerful blow that had destroyed the front door down to its hinges also didn't cause Izuku to move a millimeter. Hello there. My name is... There was another leg that scurried through the doorframe. With the force of a freight train, the kick struck Izuku's chest. Izuku wondered if there was a nearby train he could nibble on after making the comparison. Since he had eaten the rails, he had been prohibited from being close to the bullet trains. Izuku questioned, is this a villain attack? As a provisional hero, I am authorized to? He felt a kick strike his leg. A typical kneecap would have fallen to the ground. There was a faint dinging sound from Izuku's kneecap. I must warn you. A kick to the jaw. It sent a chill down the spine of a dentist 4 blocks away. If you continue, his arm should have been torn out of its socket and flung into the Pacific Ocean by the kick. Rather, it whirled like a crank in circles. This is your last. The next kick was caught by Izuku. Izuku slapped Maruko on the ground and threw her into the air as she yelled. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be. Wait, that is an American law. Miruko's wrist was hammered by the snapping of his other leg. Izuku slammed Maruko into the ground once more after staring at the foot that was attacking him ineffectively. Resistance is futile. Maruko gave him a groin kick. Izuku didn't even move, but every man in 10 miles winced and started to perspire. Standard pacification methods insufficient, added Izuku, commencing A-rank protocols. Izuku threw her to the floor. Then once more and once more. Izuku spun Maruko around like a rag doll, causing the concrete to crack and the ground to tremble. Maruko glared up at Izuku after he stopped. Oh, that's it. Now you've done it. Correct. I have done it. It being a generic noun that could refer to any number of activities, including. Maruko yelled, "Lunar Arc," as she escaped Izuku's hold and leapt to great heights using her own blood. Earthbreaker. The entire world trembled. Seas sloshed across the landscape, and mountains collapsed. Magma erupted from the Earth's molten depths, and the Earth was ripped apart by enormous fissures. The planet trembled and then broke into 3 pieces with a huge, bone-shaking crack. As the fragments of the planet Earth floated through space, Izuku rubbed his head and uttered the words, "Ow." Drawing his sword in a beautiful gesture, Yoroi said, "When using a sword, always remember the 3 S's." When Izuku said, "Now googling 3 S's, do you mean shit, shower, and shave, or shit, shovel, and shut up?" "What? No, I'm talking about style, speed, and skill." "Oh. Style is regarded as a stat in Fire Emblem games, which I was unaware of. Was strength misinterpreted by your autocorrect?" In a stage whisper, a man with a 2-hander off to the side said, "He has a point." "Strength is for brutes swinging about with a rusty cleaver," Yoroi added, glaring at the swordsman who was obviously compensating for something. "And in another age, that might be correct," he said. "But now, half the work is showmanship. When you draw your blade, you will inspire both civilians and other heroes in equal measure while intimidating villains. Let me show you the distinction." Yoroi drew his sword blandly with a pained grimace, then drew it again and flourished it around, catching the light with it. "You see? I do indeed see which is the superior drawing technique." "Yes, of course you do. It's so obvious that your first draw was 112% faster, and 5 times less likely to slip out of your fingers." The room grew cold as Yoroi saw his apprentice, and the sidekick, unaware of the cold, yelled, "He's got you there." 100 pieces of metal fell to the ground as Yoroi sword swung out of its scabbard. "That one was even faster," Izuku remarked. "Is it fashionable to chop up another sword? How about you try multiple ways to draw your blade and we'll see which one works best?" the equipped hero asked, considering how he might impart style to someone who had no idea what the basics of showmanship were, and then immediately gave up. "I get it. Establishing procedures for laser sword unsheathing that adhered to trademarks." Izuku lit his not a lightsaber and held it up, asking, "Is this enough? Try something different, that you alone could accomplish." Izuku's arm parted, revealing a lightsaber. "Is this unusual enough?" The hero rubbed his beard and said, "Good, yes. Can you draw from anywhere else?" Izuku tapped the side of his head until a lightsaber dropped out the other ear. Then he pulled a lightsaber from the empty socket and popped out an eyeball. He then reached into his mouth and pulled out a chain of lightsabers, which ignited into an incandescent flail, and his legs detached to reveal more laser swords inside, and 2 extra arms appeared out of his back, each holding a lightsaber. "Are you unable to remove them from anywhere?" "Yes. I've been told not to raise the rating for this story." "Nope." Yoroi winced. "There is no breaking of walls in this agency." "Well, that makes me think. I can draw like this too." After editing this Drabble's text file to create a lightsaber, Izuku grabbed it, and Yoroi flinched as the 4th wall broke. "Can someone give UA a call? Cementos will be required once more." A dragon skulked through Musudafu's streets. As it stalked toward the villains it had cornered, they shuddered. One of the villains said, "Stand very still, with chattering teeth, she sees movement." The villains were washed away by a green light that flickered in the dragon's eyes. As the dragon stated, "B-rank threats detected, detaining villains." "Nope. I'm not going back to prison. You hear me? I dropped the soap, and you want to know what some bastard did? He picked it up and gave it back to me." The lunatic twisted his arm into a massive spike of metal and drove it into the dragon's chest. Sparks flew from the dragon's punctured body as it sputtered and writhed, and then it fell. The hole caused the villains to gape. Ryukyu was a robot this whole time? Lord Explosion Murder was telling the truth. The robots are taking over the world? What do we do? Is there anyone we can tell? You fool. The villain gave him a rag doll-like shake. They're all robots. There's only one person in the world who can help us now. No, you mean, Lord Explosion Murder. I mean, I was gonna say all for one, but sure, that works too. Any idea how we can find the guy? Oh, that's easy. All we need to do is... The villains were illuminated by green light. Another Ryukyu was hovering over them when they looked up. Villains identified. Targeting for capture. There's more, quick, run this way. They ran straight into another mechanical dragon as they dashed down an alleyway. You seem injured, are you in need of? B-rank villains identified. Apprehending villains. Please do not resist, Mecha Ryukyu said as they bounced off its metallic hide. The villains ran through a brick wall while screaming. 20 dragons were waiting for them on the opposite side of the building. My god, the invasion's begun. We're doomed. The robots are invading. You have to warn everyone. They yelled as they ran up to a girl with large blue curls. The girl turned her head so that it was facing back. According to Mecha Najire, you are under arrest. Please do not resist. The hordes of robots fell upon the villains, who screamed. Ryukyu, meanwhile, was at a far-off beach admiring the shoreline through her sunglasses while sipping a piña colada through a curly pink straw. Oh, it's been ages since I've gotten a tan. I need to take interns more often. Ochako drank a glass of water from her beach chair and questioned, isn't this a bit much? Feels like you're just making Deku do all the work. She held up her empty glass and said, refill please. Duh, what do you think an internship is? She asked. Wearing a waiter's uniform, Izuku approached and threw up a fresh piña colada into her glass. Observing Ochako's offended expression as she sipped her drink, Ryukyu turned to face the hero intern dressed as a waiter and remarked, okay, maybe I let it all go to my head a bit. Wash. Dry. Wash. Dry. A sidekick forcefully closed the door. He slid down the door and curled up on himself, taking a deep breath. Another sidekick raised the question, what's going on in there? Did Wash get into the detergent again? Worse, the sidekick muttered in horror. There's two of them. What do you? They peeked inside after opening the door. They stared in silent horror for a few seconds, then shut the door. What's next? An ironing board. Don't even joke about that. Come on, it's not that bad, right? The sidekick gazed up at them indifferently. It's not that bad, right? Wash. Dry. Wash. Dry. With a bag of cash slung over one shoulder, a villain ran out of the bank. Get in the van, go go go. We didn't even hit the vault yet. Why are we leaving? Didn't you hear them? A villain sneered. What? The sentient washing machine? Come on, we can take him. The unfortunate villain was blasted out of the car when a blast of pressurized water burst through the window. What hit me? He said, looking up blearily as he rolled to a stop against the curb. Waddling up to him was a boxy machine. A glowing ball of plasma formed in its hollowed arm, and a green light glowed from its display panel. Dry, Izuku said. As the plasma swept over him, the villain screamed and raised his arms. Before the villain faded away in bewilderment, the yelling went on for 30 seconds. Wondering why he wasn't dead, he looked around and saw that he was no longer wet. Huh, you really did dry me? Thanks, Dry. The villain attempted to get to their feet but was immobile. The villain looked down as he struggled in vain and noticed that their clothing had shrunk, securing his arms and legs. The remaining villains were dispersed by another water blast. A clean-cut man in a blue suit strode forward with a bottle of detergent as the villains huddled in terror in front of the two heroes. Hi, Billy Mays here, with OxyClean, the official sponsor of the Scrub-A-Dub agency. No, please, exclaimed the villains, not the OxyClean. The telemarketer asked the camera, are you sick of villains smashing windows, taking your valuables, and fleeing just before the heroes show up? Well, no more. With the power of OxyClean, we'll clean up these villains' acts. Billy Mays threw the villain into Wash's laundry room after dousing him in OxyClean. He threw him into Deku's dryer after a few spin cycles. The former villain, with a business degree and a three-piece suit, came out in a plume of steam. His flawless skin and clean-shaven chin astounded the villain. I feel like a new man. He was suddenly in possession of a hiring contract. After signing, the man ran to his new job. OxyClean, exclaimed Billy Mays. Call in the next 20 minutes, and we'll double your order for half the price. Wash, exclaimed Wash. Dry, Izuku said. According to Aizawa, this won't end well. Ms. Joke laughed. Oh my, do you have such little faith in your students? You could have told them about the UA crushing. And make it even worse. The drowsy proctor of the provisional license exam explained the rules before Ms. Joke could figure out what that meant. He pressed a button and smiled wearily when asked where the exam was. The earth trembled, but nothing emerged. Perplexed, the proctor repeatedly pressed the button until it broke. Squawking birds soared through the air. A titan of metal rose over the city, causing the ground to split like water and the stone to crack. The enormous robot was humanoid in shape, with thick metal limbs, a smooth, domed head, and glowing green eyes. Its arms, shoulders, and legs protruded cannons, each of which pointed separately at the targets fastened to the hero students. With a loud voice, Izuku inquired, "Has the exam begun yet? I stopped to have a snack and got lost." The exam proctor looked up with slack jaws, no longer feeling sleepy. "All right, new exam. Take down whatever that thing is and you get your licenses." "We are starting?" inquired Izuku. "Okay then." Out came a typhoon of balls. When the gathered hero students attempted to run or erect barriers, they fell in large numbers. Even Inasa, who had transformed into wind and was encircling himself with a tornado, was hit by bullets that were fired precisely through hurricane-force winds. There were only 20 pupils left when the firing ceased. With heaps of unconscious pupils surrounding them, Class 1A gazed up at Izuku. Mineta questioned, "Does this mean we pass?" The exam proctor stood up shakily. "In light of the results of the first exam stage, the second exam is hereby," he said, adjusting his suit. Gang Orca ran through a concrete wall that stood alone in the open field, smashing it to pieces. "Just got the alert. Did I miss my cue?" he said, gasping for air. Izuku turned to face him. "Is this the second exam, beginning suppression of target?" Izuku's arms hummed like a Gatling gun, and Gang Orca's eyes grew wide. Rubber balls were flying through the area directly behind him as he barely jumped out of the way. When he saw the crater left behind, he started to perspire profusely. I surrender." "Surrender accepted," asserted Izuku. Gang Orca was beamed in the forehead by a single ball. He hit the ground with a heavy thud as his eyes rolled up. The training ground was filled with black mist. All for One went outside and took in the surroundings. "Excuse me, children, have any of you seen Himiko? Blonde hair, blood-stained schoolgirl uniform, propensity for stabbing people, impossible to miss, really. I just got an alert that she had lost consciousness." All of Izuku's weapons were trained on the newcomer. All for One nervously tugged at his collar while gazing up at the magnificent arsenal aimed at him. "Fuck this shit, I'm out. You can keep her. It's Izuku Midoriya on the shore." The President of the United States is rocking back and forth in his leather chair, the governor has summoned the National Guard, and the mayor of the closest city has issued an evacuation order. He is also wondering why he ever accepted the position. Or, to put it another way, another Florida day. Izuku takes a sip from his piña colada. If a piña colada was a cocktail consisting of motor oil, iron filings, and a dash of nuclear-grade uranium, that is. Does it really matter that it has the curly pink straw and the paper umbrella? "Another!" yells Izuku as a nervous attendant in a hazmat suit waddles forward with a tray after he slams the entire glass into his mouth and chomps it to dust. With a notebook by his side and binoculars in hand, Bakugo observes from a distance, prepared to reveal to the world the secrets of the approaching robot hordes. If a man were half buried in the sand, pointing binoculars at the beachgoers and muttering to himself on any other day, he might raise an eyebrow or even get a panicked 911 call from a visitor who is unfamiliar with Floridian madness. But since Izuku is at the beach today, Bakugo is dogpiled by the FBI, the Coast Guard, the Navy SEALs, and a Vietnam War veteran who is paraplegic. When the FBI agent says, "Sir, unidentified intruder apprehended, your orders." Izuku gives him a look. That is Katsuki Bakugo. Excuse me? He is now identified. Thank you for your service." The gathered Special Operations Forces exchanged perplexed glances, shrugged, and returned to their various hiding spots, which included conch shells, under cars, and inside trash cans. Katsuki yelled, "I'll never surrender. I'll stop your plans, whatever they are, and liberate the people." "I do not have any plans." Katsuki's gaze grew strained. Nice to know that the AI hasn't mastered their deception algorithms. Was I supposed to have a plan? I thought that the point of a vacation was to not have any plans. Next time, I will make a plan. Maybe becoming a bike and biking across the ocean. That sounds like fun. Infiltrating bicycles to remove humanity's only source of machine-free transportation, Katsuki scrawled as he pulled out his notebook. The sea trembled. Out of the waves rose a kraken hundreds of feet in height. The beach was darkened by its shadow. Its bulbous eyes threw their evil gaze upon the far-off cities, and its tentacles upended palm trees. It roared defiantly at the sky, its beak cracked open and crusted with barnacles. The sky was split by a green flash. A spear of plasma blasted through the Kraken's trunk, creating a circular hole that let sunlight in, causing it to twitch. Izuku remarked, "You were blocking the sun, in a slender cone of sunlight. But now you are not. You may continue whatever it is you were doing." The Kraken, trembling in front of Izuku, remained motionless, afraid to be touched by any shadow. Another Florida day. "This is where I watched my parents die, Robin." As it rained all around them, Izuku Midoriya stood stoically behind Batman. "I am detecting anomalous brain activity. Would you like me to remove the malignant tumor growing in your prefrontal cortex?" he asked, placing a hand on the caped Crusader's shoulder. Batman said, "If only it were so simple," in a voice that sounded like Christian Bale slurping his teeth. "It's tempting to see crime as a cancer and carve it out of the city. Every time you think you've found the last of it, turns out a cell slipped past your knife and set up elsewhere, or an entirely new tumor sprouts up. Sounds like you are in need of chemotherapy. Have you tried ingesting sub-lethal amounts of a hazardous chemical?" "People have tried turning this city around the right way," Batman observed. "But every time, they end up murdered in their homes, or driven insane by the hopelessness of it all. This city deserves a real hero, but I'm the one they need." "Understood. Administering treatment." "Wait, what?" Izuku inserted a needle into Batman's neck, causing him to go limp. Izuku then cut his head open, prodded his brain, and removed a dried-out lump. Bruce Wayne's eyes popped open as Izuku patched his head back together. "What just happened?" "I got rid of the cancer just like you asked." Batman gazed incredulously at the pulsing flesh in Izuku's fingers and asked, "Cancer?" "It was a metaphor for crime in the city." "Oh, I can get rid of that too if you want." As Bruce Wayne glanced down at his armored suit and belt of weapons, his voice became smoother. No, it feels so clear now. What have I been doing with myself? With my life? I could have done so much more, so much actual good, and instead, I've spent my time beating up thugs in back alleys. How did I ever think that was a good idea?" "You stopped them from hurting people," Bruce retorted, "but I never addressed the root cause." Bruce Wayne tore off his cape and cowl and said, "I could fix poverty, lack of education, the housing crisis, and lack of proper mental care in a week. In fact, I'll get started right now." Out from behind a dumpster, the Joker appeared. "Hey Bats. Fancy meeting you here. Doesn't it bring back wonderful memories?" "Yeah, great seeing you, Joker," Bruce Wayne admitted absently. "Sorry, I'm late for a board meeting. You can keep these." When Bruce Wayne ran for the closest taxi, the Joker gazed down at Batman's cowl in disbelief. The Joker said, "Now what am I supposed to do?" He smiled as he glanced at Izuku. "You want to know how I got these scars?" "From cancer treatment." The Joker's shocked face became even whiter. "How do you know?" Just at Izuku's fingertip, a tiny plasma cutter came to life. "Who do you think performed your surgery?" The Joker laughed and howled. Tony Stark tended to his sore head while gazing at the green Iron Man suit. "I don't remember making this one." "Well, better take it. I'm late as it is." Tony entered the outfit. The screen displayed a line of kanji as it closed. Stark questioned, "Is that Japanese? How drunk was I last night?" Tony Stark made a wrist flick. He attempted to throw and wave his arms, but to no avail. "How do I work this thing? Thruster systems online. Engage throttle, go gadget thrusters." He flicked his arms one last time in frustration. A lightsaber landed in his fingers after popping out of his forearm. With a laugh, Tony Stark gestured with the green blade. "Oh man, I'm so glad Disney bought us out." Pepper Potts entered Tony's laboratory at that precise moment. "What are you doing? The Avengers meeting was 10 minutes ago, and where did you get that?" Tony Stark held up the lightsaber and asked, "This? Check it out, I'm a Mecha Jedi." "Tony, you know the Marvel, Star Wars crossover isn't scheduled for another 15 years. Relax, it's just an Easter egg. You know we're all about those. We can just pretend it's an extended arc reactor or something before dropping the big reveal." "Fine, whatever, but what is that suit? And why is it green?" "No idea. Found it when I woke up." You put on a random suit left in your lab?" "Pepper, it's fine. Just had a bit too much to drink last night." Pepper used her clipboard to strike him over the head. "No, it's not fine. Putting on strange tech you found lying around is how Ultron happens. Now get out of that suit before something happens." The suit's arms automatically yawned, and its eyes brightened. Feeling around his body, Izuku uttered, "Tamatama tabete damayo desu, shazai dashimasu." Pepper blinked. Tony, was that Japanese? What? No, that was Chinese. Gotta pander to that overseas market, right? Pepper looked at him disapprovingly. I speak Chinese. That wasn't Chinese. Must have used the wrong translator then. Even a genius like myself makes a mistake every now and then. With a thick accent, Izuku said, Eishi no Kenshutsu, Gengo Sette no Henko, very nice to meet you. Can you please exit my body, it is very uncomfortable. Tony, yep, got it, getting out now. Stark jumped out as the suit opened. To the chagrin of Stark, Izuku transformed back into his normal form. Please tell me I wasn't just inside of a... Nope, exclaimed Pepper. Don't even say it. The last thing we need is another lawsuit. Can I at least keep the lightsaber? Tony Stark whispered. Pepper slapped her clipboard at him. The blow knocked Tony unconscious because he wasn't wearing a metal suit this time. Izuku questioned one of Tony's suits as she pulled him away. Are you Iron Man? I'm supposed to intern with him. As he introduced the newest member of Detnerod, CEO Rikiya Yatsubashi pretended in front of his astonished colleagues. Everyone, it is my honor to present Izuku Midoriya, who has accepted our very generous internship offer. It is my hope that this will be the beginning of a highly profitable partnership and another step in the goal of liberating mankind. Izuku remarked, liberation is good. When I heard that so many people across the world are oppressed, my moral code as a hero indicated that I should assist an organization working to liberate everyone. Well said, exclaimed Rikiya. Now, why don't you take a seat, and we'll begin the orientation. How strong is he, exactly? He won the sports festival, sure, but it wasn't much of a show, you know? Jiden asked as Izuku took a seat. Yeah, a mook without a name said. How do we know he's not just some weakling that lucked out? We should have a competition. What, like the sports festival? Before the discussion got any more out of hand, Yatsubashi jumped in. Yes, exactly. Why don't we take this into the testing chambers? Let us see who is strongest among us. Rikiya watched as his grunts, goons, and mooks lined up to smack a punching bag, sure that no one could match his strength. Under every blow and impact, numbers flashed, determining temperature, force, speed, and other factors. As Curious detonated in a big enough explosion to distort its steel plates, Jiden froze the bag until the air liquefied around it. How would you like me to interact with this device? Izuku asked as he got up to it. Rikiya yelled, hit it as hard as you can, understood. New machines sprang up from Izuku's shoulder and back, causing his arm to twist. His arm changed into a freight train-sized battering ram in a matter of seconds. It crushed the punching bag, hurled it through 10 concrete walls, and accelerated quickly enough to shatter the sound barrier before embedding itself in the bedrock underneath the structure. As his subordinates looked at him expectantly and calculatingly, Yatsubashi perspired. Of course, he said with hesitation, raw numbers aren't everything. What truly matters is how well one can fight. Rikiya became a massive black monster, allowing the worry of losing his job to consume him. The air was broken by his punch, but Izuku caught it with one huge hand. Izuku held on to him as he threw him repeatedly, slamming him to the ground. Izuku uttered, puny go oh wait, I already did this one. Izuku gave Rikiya a huge uppercut after standing him back up and dusting him off. As the CEO fell to the ground, Rikiya's socks drifted through the air. New boss! Yelled the thugs. Lead the MLA into glory. I run the Meta Liberation Army. Yes, Izuku called someone. Hello, Hero Commission? I am the leader of the MLA, and I would like to turn myself in. Izuku was polishing a glass when Kurogiri asked, what makes you think you are qualified to join our prestigious organization? Dabi scribbled conspiracy theories about Izuku's origins on a napkin to the left of Izuku. With a fierce, focused expression on her face, Himiko poked a knife into Izuku's ribs on his right, frowning as the blade dented his skin but left no hole. Disregarding both of them, Izuku declared, I am very good at joining organizations. After 23 minutes of hiring me as an intern, the Meta Liberation Army made me their leader. Kurogiri became alert. He had assumed Shigaraki had blown him off when he casually mentioned sending out job applications to hero students when he had asked him how to steer said children away from the vile temptations of heroism while Shigaraki was ranting about bullshit hitboxes and mistimed invulnerability windows and getting his video game character thrashed by a giant dog with a sword. However, it is evident that his young charge had given this scheme a great deal of thought for it to have paid off so rapidly. Previous job experience and the ambition to climb the ranks. Most impressive. Where do you see yourself in this organization? In this barstool, answered Izuku, using a light-hearted aside to divert attention from a serious response. A clear-cut charade, one designed to expose itself and demonstrate his skill at deceit. Clever. I see, said Kurogiri. And what skills would you say brings the most value to this organization? I am very skilled at using a credit card. I once ordered enough pizza to empty Italy's reserves. Blackmail and bribery combined into one. A chill went down Kurogiri's hazy back. I am most impressed by your answers. I see no need to wait. You are hereby inducted as a member of the Luncheon of Vigilantes. I thought we were going with landowners of Venice, Dobby remarked casually. Ah, I wanted it to be lots of vivisections, Himiko continued, stabbed Izuku in the face ineffectively. As he handed Izuku his new love hiring forms and benefits applications, Kurogiri portaled Himiko away. Shigaraki, covered in dusty fragments of a PS5, stormed out as Izuku swallowed through them all and signed each page. Kurogiri, I need a new game system. My old one had an accident. Initiating, said Izuku. Kurogiri briefly became very excited before an LED screen and game controller appeared on Izuku's chest. Shigaraki gazed at Izuku as though he were seeing a prophet. Can you do that for any game console? Only the ones Disney has not bought the rights to, Izuku replied. I have access to over 50 million titles across 26 consoles. Wait, make that 40 million. Disney just bought Nintendo. As Shigaraki grabbed the controller and began a lifelong gaming binge, Kurogiri watched in dawning horror. Katsuki pushed a computer screen into Izuku's face and yelled, What now, Deku? The greatest threat to mankind, stumped by a simple grid of pictures. Izuku tapped 5 tiles after scanning the screen in front of him. See, you screwed it up, once again, mankind's greatest defense triumphs, exclaimed Katsuki with a smile. The tablet connected to Katsuki's bank account and a green checkmark appeared on the screen. What is this bullshit? That tile didn't have a crosswalk on it, exclaimed Katsuki, dumbfounded. Actually, Izuku responded, exactly 2 pixels were on the top right corner of tile B5. Katsuki pulled up another CAPTCHA and said, Give me that. The CAPTCHA rejected him after he clicked on the motorcycle. Izuku said, That's an electric scooter, not a motorcycle. The motorcycle's in A4 and A5, behind that black van. Kaminari narrowed her eyes. How can you even tell? There are 8 pixels of the bike's shadow underneath the van. Katsuki ripped the tablet from his grasp and said, You know what? He pulled up his credit card account, which displayed a hazy image of a word, and said, The pictures are stupid. I've got a better idea. There. No way you'll be able to figure out. Done, Izuku declared. Wow, you have a lot of outstanding charges for electromagnets. Are you working on a science experiment? Katsuki cleared his throat, cancelled all the payments, and muttered into his phone, Abort mission, the machines know. That is classified information, he said. That must have been a fluke. This one will stop you for sure. The new word caused Kaminari to squint. Is that AS or A5? Katsuki gave Kaminari a scowl. You better watch your step, robot. Seriously. Tell me if you can figure out that word and I'll admit I'm a robot. Go on. Piece of cake, growled Katsuki. He entered the word, but it didn't work. He tried again and was met with a red X, stupid keyboard, I hit the wrong one. Kaminari wiggled his eyebrows and said, Well Katsuki? Maybe we're the robots, and Izuku's the human. Katsuki dropped the tablet from his slack fingers. Izuku grabbed it, entered the right letters right away, and opened the account. It was neither AS nor A5, Kaminari. It was, in fact, a Z. Oh, so that's why it looked backwards. Before him, Katsuki gazed absently. Kaminari waved his hand in front of his face after a brief pause. Hey dude, you still in there? I was kidding about that whole "we're robots" comment. He laughed and said, You didn't blue screen on us, did you? Taking Kaminari by the shoulders, Katsuki fixed him with a glare. Don't you see? It all makes so much sense now. The robots are replacing us. When humans can no longer enter the CAPTCHAs and robots need to do it for them, they'll be the humans and we'll be the robots. Dude, get some sleep. Principal Nezu, Izuku, and Shiro gathered around Recovery Girl's motionless body. In front of her extended hands was an empty gummy jar. Shiro questioned, Didn't we do this bit already? Just get the black gummy please, Nezu said. Meanwhile, I have a few suppliers in need of scolding. If you'll excuse me. Shiro went off to locate the closest emergency case, while Nezu hopped into the air vent to make a phone call. Shiro reappeared a few moments later, clutching a black gummy and covered in glass fragments. Shiro remarked, She better come back to life, while tears streamed down his cheeks. I don't think I have enough tape for all these cuts. Zero. The gummy in your hands is not the black gummy that Principal Nezu described, Izuku remarked as Zero put the black gummy in Recover Girl's mouth. Zero questioned, what are you talking about? It was black, wasn't it? The gummy was actually Vantablack. It absorbed visible light with roughly 1,000 times more efficiency than the standard model of black gummy. I hypothesize that it has ingredients that may cause side effects. What kind of side effects? Recovery Girl's heart skipped a beat. You had me worried for a sec, Izuku. See? It's working just fine, sighed Zero. The chest of Recovery Girl exploded. A black alien parasite wriggled out of the nurse's ribcage, and Zero screamed and hid behind Izuku. Kill it, cried Zero. Kill it with fire. I am not authorized to terminate UA personnel. That thing ate her. Do something. Izuku stepped forward and extended his hand, saying, understood. Recovery Girl, you appear to be in need of assistance. Do you desire aid in rising to your feet? The alien stretched its arms and blinked at him. The extraterrestrial hissed, "Ah, that was a nice nap, that looks like quite the ouchie, dearie. Why don't I take care of that?" it said, glancing at Zero. The alien's telescoping mouth reached for Zero, who squealed and begged. Zero's cuts disappeared when it tapped his cheek. Zero clutched his stomach and said, "Huh, neat, my liver feels funny." After searching a refrigerator, the extraterrestrial extracted a human heart. Would you like a gummy, dearie? Nope. Zero withdrew slowly. I'm good. The extraterrestrial gave a shrug. More for me then. It ate the heart with one chomp and returned to its desk. Upon exiting the vent, Principal Nezu exclaimed, "That's a relief." Izuku inquired, "You are relieved that Recovery Girl is all right?" Nezu laughed and rubbed his paws together. "That? Oh no, I'm glad she's eating human hearts now. They're way cheaper than those gummies we've been ordering. That means I get to increase the tea budget." British detected. Resetting default language. That sounds like a propa cuppa the Queen's finest, govna. May Her Majesty live forever. Zero's chest exploded out in the corridor. Seriously? Screamed an alien as it wriggled out and glanced down at the tape dispensers on its elbows. Mina displayed a snake and 3 badgers. Is this a meme? No, this is Patrick. Light glinted off Ida's glasses as he adjusted them. It's an old meme, but it checks out. Juru sipped his coffee while sitting. That is not a meme. Change my mind. After shooting Juru in the chest, Kaminari turned to face the class. Who did this? F. Juru took a seat again. Oh no anyways. Sato made an accusing gesture. One does not simply get up from a bullet wound. 'Tis but a flesh wound. Weird flex, but okay. I asked for a real meme. Mina brandished a doge. I said a real meme. Mina displayed a sullen feline. Perfection. Mineta exclaimed, "Ah!" as the cat attacked him. Kill it with fire." Shoto was tapped against the wall by Mineta. The entire room caught fire. Sitting at a table, Kirishima transformed into a Nokia 3310. This is fine. With a stack of pizzas in hand and an Italian opera playing in the background, Koda opened the door. The sight of the flaming carnage in front of him stopped him cold. A wad of bills was held out by Kaminari. "Shut up and take my money." "Wait," exclaimed Ochako. "It's a trap." When he opened it, he saw pineapple. Sparks flew from his cheeks like a Pikachu as he gaped. Zero's face melted away as he looked inside. "My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. I expected nothing and I'm still disappointed." As the fire drew closer, Mineta sat and laughed. "We're in danger." Yaoyorozu slapped the roof of a rocket after removing it from her cleavage. This bad boy can hold so many students. As everyone boarded the Bezos 2, Kaminari saw the planet cut in two by a knife outside the window. Wait, it's been cake this whole time? Always has been? He was shot in the back of the head by another Kaminari. Behind him, Kaminari vanished and then reappeared. Ome wa mo shinryu. Nani? Kaminari put his katana away. Slices of cake fell from other Kaminari. Memes, in SPAACE. A scroll drifted in. It was read by Iida. Diamonds aren't unbreakable. Kirishima is. The color of Kirishima's arm darkened. Muscular hands shook between him and Iida. Ain't that the truth? Tsuyu was a unicycle rider. I heard Mineta yell, "Here come dat boy." Do you know da why? Kirishima inquired. Oh, you're approaching me? Who would win? Unbreakable muscle bro or Ina frog. Mineta got to his feet and grabbed his belt. Dick's out for. Mina blasted him with a stick, saying, "Stop right there, criminal scum. Horny jail time for you." Blazing it. "Where is my supersuit?" asked Sato, who was only dressed in his underwear. "It was stolen by a weasel." "Swiper no swiping," yelled Koda. "Guys, Jeopardy music is playing, speed run." Without utilizing her sniper's scope, Yayorozu spun and fired a shot. "Peanut butter jelly time," exclaimed Sato, dressed as a banana, as Iida maneuvered the rocket through an abrupt exit. Wearing sunglasses, Ojiro did so. "You're the most hated one, a student," Mineta said, swallowing pills. "Deal with it." "Are you not entertained?" Ding, the word count was reached. Memes in total. 58 awesome scoring. All of the gathered 1A students gave each other high fives and cheers. Mineta exclaimed, "Man, I wanted to make it to 69. Zero remarked, "We're lucky the author had 58 memes, he doesn't go on Twitter, has never been on Reddit. He hasn't even visited his Facebook page since he made it. Everything he has is recycled from meme channels in the few Discord channels he's bothered joining." At a distance, a brick wall broke. After glaring at Zero, Iida said, "You shouldn't make more work for Cementos." "I don't know why he bothers," complained Bakugo. "This story's clearly falling apart at the seams if the author's cramming a bunch of memes into place and calling it a story." Suddenly, a pie materialized and splashed into Bakugo's face. Kaminari's gaze shifted to the ceiling. "Well, I for one welcome our new literary overlord." Everybody waited. "Come on, nothing?" Kaminari said, scowling. Juru nudged him. "Nobody likes a suck up. So anyways," Ojiro said, "how do we get down from here?" Everyone gazed out the window at the earth, which was steadily losing ground beneath them. Ochako said, "Kalizuku." "Kalizuku," echoed everyone except Bakugo. A green light radiated up from the earth as Yayorozu made a cell phone. Outside the window of the spaceship, Izuku's face emerged. "I heard that you were attempting to compile a collection of memes in as small a space as possible. Can I be of assistance?" "We appreciate it, but we already..." Izuku's mouth glowed and transformed into a plasma cannon as he said, "Memes downloaded. Activating memes. I'm a furin my lassa." "Oh shit." Consequently, just as Exodia's light illuminated Seto Kaiba, Izuku's memes light illuminated Class 1A. Izuku played a song in the dead of space, where nobody could hear him. "Never gonna give you up." 821 My inner Kermit Palpatine told me to do something with my idea, so here it is. There are 59 memes in a 500-word drabble. I sincerely apologize to all of you. I want to know if anyone can surpass my record. Directory of memes. Decrease badger badger badger. The Krusty Krab, is that right? The anime glasses. It's an outdated code, but it works. Modify my mind. Juru was killed by whom? Respecting oh no in any case. Mordor no one will pass. Strange flex the epitome of perfection. Doge the grumpy cat use fire to destroy it. Instantaneous fire the best phone was the old one. It's okay, it's on fire, and I brought pizza. Funiculi, funicula fry, Philip Admiral Akbar. Those who raided the Lost Ark pizza with pineapple. Pikachu's startled expression, my disappointment is indescribable. I had no expectations. Wiggums, Ralph automobile salesperson. Bezos, Jeff it's all cake, it has always been. Never trust anyone, including yourself. Nani. The katana being sheathed Spachi. The truth scroll. Is that a reference to JoJo? The agreement handshake what the fuck? Knuckles from Uganda another allusion to JoJo? Who would prevail? Frog from Scotland Harambe guards of Skyrim Bombke. The 420th word in fact Frozone oh no. 360 degrees has no scope. It's peanut butter jelly time. Making an abrupt but unavoidable departure pills that are difficult to swallow gladiator.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, bye bye.